molested when she was 6 by someone she trusted.
The doctors finally walked into the door. They basically were telling me that she had a 5% chance of living.
I couldn't understand how somebody that tells you they loved you, that held you as a child, could abuse you.
Tommy Scott grew up among gang violence, drugs, and poverty in the projects of South Central Los Angeles.
I felt not normal, not good. I wasn't lovable.
As a teen, Melissa discovered that drinking gave some relief.
Tommy is free today and continues to tell people that it was Jesus who changed his life.
The time I spent in prison, I spent putting my ideas together on, how I was going to come back and make it all right.
And I realized my purpose, that I was created to reflect the glory of God.
Duke now realizes why God kept him alive.
These were real people facing desperate situations, just like you and me.
Jesus died to set you free, and he can give you a new heart.
On the next episode of La Patrona.
The lizard to guard all exits in and out of town, including ones to the airport.
They won't find him, though. It's true what Annabelle said. He wants to keep the police busy because I'm sure they're about to strike, but I just don't know where.
You got it.
Maybe he tried to steal something from someone and they just...
If he's already dead, then look for him underneath the ground, okay? And find me his bones, because I want nobody who made a fool of me getting away alive. What have you heard from the other ones, Susan?
If you were so loyal to my uncle, and you wish to continue to be the Goldsteins' lawyer, I'll ask that you help me claim my inheritance without any noise or publicity. I've got to save myself and serve justice.
La Patrona.
NTV, turning on your world.
Nze Farida Nakazi bwe tutandikidde mu district y'e Nakasongola abalunzi b'ebisolo gye bali mu kukaaba nga ge bakaaba ge bakomba. Kino kiddiridde ppereketya w'omusana aviiriddeko n'ente okutandika okutondoka emu ku emu. Kino kiwalirizza abalunzi okutandika okutunda ebisolo byabwe ku bbeeyi ey'enseko obuseko mu kifo ky'okubirinda okufa. Sohail Mugabi yakadda okuva mu district eno eyimiriddewo ku bulunzi.
Bw'oyingirako mu byalo nga Sikye, Saasira ne Kakundi mu disitulikiti y'e Nakasongola, ekisooka okukwaniriza bye birime ssaako n'ebisubi ebitandise okuva mu langi ya kiragala nga kati bidda mu langi eya kyenvu ne kitaka. Ekireetedde bino okufaanana bwe biti ly'ebbula ly'amazzi. Bwe tweyongera mu maaso tutuuka ku kidiba kya Nankwanga nga kino kibeesawo abantu abasoba mu 5 n'ebisolo byabwe omuli ente, embuzi n'ebirala. Wabula ekyewuunyisa, ekidiba kino ekyali kijjuza amazzi kati kikalu. Abatuuze kati basigalidde kusena mazzi agajjuddemu ebisooto. Embeera eno eyongera okweraliikiriza era bonna abatuuze bakaaba kimu omusana ogwasa okuva mu mwezi gwa Novemba omwaka oguwedde.
Eddamu yetukwatirira mu musana ffenna owawa n'owawa musanga wano.
Kati abantu bakyajja okukima amazzi?
Tebakyajja. Kati baagenda balaba gaggwamu.
Musana gubadde mungi, ebisolo byaffe bifa, abantu tetulina mbeera lw'amazzi.
Okuva e Kakundi twolekera ekyalo Sikye awali nayikondo emu erina okubeezaawo abantu abasoba mu 4 okuva mu byalo 3. Bano bonna bazze kufuna mazzi kati agaafuuka otuzzi. Era ekisinga okubeeraliikiriza kyekya nayikondo eno okukala.
Nga bwe mbambaze abantu kiba kitegeeza nti tuba tuli mu bidomola 10 n'ekintu. Era tutuuka ssaawa nga 2 ez'ekiro ne tusiba bo okuwummulamu oluusi essaawa etuuka n'esika empewo.
Amazzi matono nnyo era ebidiba awasangibwa amazzi osanga abantu bangi okuva mu bitundu eby'enjawulo n'ente zaabwe era abantu batambula engendo mpanvu.
Tusobodde okutuukako ku kyalo kino we batubulidde nti no waliwo ente zitandise okufa olw'ebbula ly'amazzi. Mu kaseera kano tulabawo emu yokka esigaddewo ate nerawo otunuulira ekitundu kino tewali bisuubi byonna nte zino biziyinza kukola ki kufuna kyakulya. Ente yabadde ki?
Ente zifa njala, mazzi, enkalamata tezirina kyakulya, tezirina kyakunywa.
era kyovula bano wonna bayokyawo kakati ente ziri bubi era zizo zigwa
kati ngegudde wansi
kakati okugwa wansi lwakuba nti teyina kyerya teyina ennyota egiri bubi era zibadde zigenda wali ku kidaamu kiri zisobole okunywa amazzi era yo teyasobodde kutuuka
teyina kizibu kirala
tewali kirala njala n'amazzi
bannange eno yembeera mu disitulikiti y'e Nakasongola
musana gutuli bubi ensiko yonna yonna bagyokyezza ente zaffe zonna zifa ziggwawo kati buli egwa mu gundi mu nkunyamu ne mu bisenyi ebiwanvu babaaga bubaazi amaliba bajjako bujjaddi benyama ne baleka eyo
bo abatwala disitulikiti y'e Nakasongola nabo embeera eno ebayitiriddeko era bali mu kusala magezi okulaba nga bagigonjoola yadde nga bafunyemu obuzibu.
Kati abalunzi kye basazeewo okukola ente bw'etandika okulaga nti enafuye bagitunda ente yandiguliddwa emitwalo 8 okugenda waggulu bagitunda emitwalo 2 zokka. Ekyo nno kituleetedde obuzibu kubanga abalimi baffe bafiirwa. Oluusi eyo tekyasoboka kutunda bagisala naye kilo y'ennyama bagitunda 2,000 ate ng'ennyama yandibadde ku 6 kugenda mu 7 awo. Nolwekyo ekizibu ekiri ekituyisizza bubi nnyo abalunzi baffe babonaabona.
Guno si gwe gusoose embeera eno okubeera bweti era abatuuze bagamba nti ebbula ly'amazzi libeerawo buli mwaka nga kino kiviira ku musana okwaka ennyo wabula ku mulundi guno embeera esusse obw'omulamuzi. Sohail Mugabi, NTV Akawungezi.
Webale nnyo Sohail Mugabe kulikayo e Nakasongola. Mawulire amalala, President Yoweri Museveni olwaleero asisinkanye ababaka ba NRM abassa emikono ku kiwandiiko ekimusemba okwesimbawo nga tavuganyiziddwa kuva mu kibiina kye mu 2016. Ensisinkano eno ekyagenda mu maaso mu maka g'obwa President Entebbe. Tutegeezeddwa nti ababaka bano ekimu kuba kye basimbyeko essira kwe kukunga abantu okuwagira Museveni mu kulonda okujja n'okusalira amagezi abo bonna abayinza okuvaayo okumwesimbako okuva mu kibiina ki NRM.
Omwezi ogwedde ekyankwanza ababaka ba NRM bawunikiza eggwanga nga muli bannakibiina bwe baavayo ne bategeeza nga basazeewo President Museveni aleme kuvuganyizibwa okuva mu kibiina kye mu 2016 mu kisanja kye bayita ekyokutaano. Okukakasa ensonga eno basalawo okussa emikono ku kiwandiiko ekimuwagira. Bwe batyo olwaleero abo bokka bassa emikono ku kiwandiiko kino bayitiddwa mu maka g'obwa President Entebbe okwongera okuttaanya ensonga eno.
240 people who have already signed the motion and all these guys are supposed to come. The MPs who have signed the motion are supposed to come for this meeting for us to discuss.
Okusinziira ku mwogezi wa kabondo ka NRM mu Parliament era omu ku baali emabega w'ekiteeso kino Evelyn Anite, ensisinkano eno egendereddwamu okutema empenda ez'okusaasaanya enjiri ya President Museveni okwesimbawo mu ggwanga lyonna mu 2016.
And we're going to supposed to speak for it in all the forums, radio stations, in our regions, church services, in every forum.
Amyuka nampala wa kabondo ka NRM mu Parliament David Bahati atutegeezezza enkyaleero nti n'ensonga endala ezikwatagana ku byobufuzi za kuteesebwako mu nsisinkano eno.
Demo okulaba nga bwe tuzitwala mu maaso ate tulabe na politics eziriko ezigenda mu ggwanga.
Sabbiiti eno amawulire gaategeeza ng'ekibiina kino bwe kigenda okuteekawo enkola empya omunaalondebwa sipiika n'omumyuka we ng'akakiiko k'ekibiina ako ku ntikko ke kajja okubakuba mu ttooki. Ye Ssaabaminisita Amama Mbabazi ategeeza bannamawulire mu Kampala olwaleero nti abalowooza nti ayagala kwesimbawo okuvuganya ku President Museveni mu 2016 be abalina ekigendererwa eky'okuyuzaayoza mu kibiina.
NRM through its established methods will choose who its candidates will be. And certainly, I will not stand against President Museveni. If you want me to repeat it, I will not stand against President Museveni.
Amama Mbabazi y'omu ku baateeka omukono ku kiwandiiko ekyogira President Museveni okwesimbawo bwe baali ekyankwanzi omwezi oguwedde.
Eddwaliro ly'Ewalukuba Health Center 3 mu disitulikiti ey'Ejjinja likedde ku kyankalana bamaama b'eggwanga bwe beesaza akajegere nga bagamba nti mu ddwaliro lino mulimu omusajja eyeefuniridde ku ky'okukwata abaana batanneetuuka ababa bazze okujjanjabibwa. Kino kiviiriddeko abasawo okudduka mu ddwaliro okutuusa poliisi weewooyawooyezza abakyala bano. Ye agambibwa okukwata abaana okuli n'ow'emyaka 13 kati yafunisiddwa olubuto adduse.
Abakyala ejjinja bakedde kugumba ku ddwaliro lya Walukuba nga baagala babawo omusajja gwe bagamba nti azze akabasanya abaana baabwe bamwekolereko. Wakati mu busungu obungi balumbye omukozi omu mu ddwaliro lino nga baagala balage kaggwe ensonyono wa gy'ali. Bano bagamba nti ku ntandikwa y'omwezi guno Okecho Francis omukozi mu ddwaliro lino yakkakana ku mwana ow'emyaka 14 n'amukozesa bwe yali agenze okufuna obujjanjabi.
Nga bankubira essimu nga baŋŋamba jangu eno bagoma mapatuso omwana ali mu buzibu nnyo yangu wako oba basoboka ojja kgenda ne ku poliisi. Natuuka wano omuvubuka yasangiriza dokita n'abimpitiramu n'agamba omwana musanze eri mulumu.
Kati nkubulidde abaana baffe tubalabirira kyekyo twagala wano omusawo yakutte omwana.
Nga bagenda mu maaso n'okoleka obutali bumativu ku nsonga eno era nga banoonya Okecho ate we bagwiridde ku muwala w'emyaka 13 nga naye yakozesebwa omuntu y'omu era nga kati ali lubuto lwa myezi 4.
Ningamba nze sisobola nkyali mwana muto kati lwe nali nsitukawo nali nfukamidde nali nsitukawo nankwata emikono nanzika nantwale mu kasenge kati we nayegalanga okuleekaana nga nkwata omumwa.
Apollo Kateba akulira poliisi y'ejjinja bano abasabye okubeera abagumiikiriza nti ensonga zaabwe agenda kuzigonjoola.
Mbadde mbasaba kintu kimu munzikirize ngende mu ofiisi ya kawo saawa zino ampe ebikwatako oyo omusajja ayakutte oyo omwana nfuna we ntandikira.
Wabula ye agambibwa okusobya ku baana yamazeemu omusubi nga kati poliisi eri ku muyiggo.
Kitegerekesa olwaleero nga akaduukulu ka CPS bwe kafuuse ekifo omuli bw'enguzi nga abapoliisi abakulu bakolagana wamu n'abazzi b'emisango omuli n'ababbi abamanyiddwa. Akulira poliisi mu Kampala n'emiriraano Andrew Felix Kawes ategeezezza nti mu buduukulu buno obwa CPS mwateekebwamu n'obufo n'ebifo ebyaweebwa amannya nga Sheraton ne Serena ng'abasibe abalina ssente mwe basula. Ono ategeezezza nga bwe waliwo abapoliisi abanoonyerezebwako ku nsonga eno.
Kaweesa olwaleero akoze okulambula mu buduukulu bw'abasibe n'asanga nga bwafuulibwa ebifo ebyokulya enguzi abapoliisi mwe basolooza ssente ssaako n'okutulugunya abasibe.
Mulimu n'abalala nga boogwabwe kugenda kuleeta kukubira bantu ab'eŋŋanda b'abasibe muleeteeyo ssente wali ezeetaagisa abatazireeta basooka kubakuba. Ebyo byonna biri mu buduukulu naye nga obunafu sigenda kunenya nnyo basibe kubanga babasibe bayinza okutwala bayinza okufuna omukisa baga nti kabakole kye baagala. Ekyo bakikola lwakuba nti balina support y'abasirikale.
Kaweesa agamba nti mu basirikale be mulimu abeekobana n'abasibe ne babawa ebitiibwa okubakolera emirimu ng'okutulugunya abasibe wamu n'okubaggyako ssente.
Abamu tubakutte ne wansi abasirikale ndese balagidde babakutte abakulira ekkomera obusenge mbugyeewo Katikkiro mugyeemu.
Abasibe bangi bwe batwalibwa mu buduukulu buno kibeewuunyisa okusangayo ebifo nga Sheraton, Serena n'ebifo ebirala era ng'okusulako mu bifo bino olina okuba ng'ensawo y'ekweyimirira.
Beekolamu omulimo ne beeterawo gavumenti eyaabwe. Gavumenti eyo eriko abakulembeze omu bamuyita na Katikkiro. Yasalawo ana anaali emmere emisana, ana anaali ekyeggulu. Anaasulawa, anaasula obulungi, anaasula obubi. Bano banankunkunye edda bo abatalinaako mwasirizi bo babeeraawo be bakola balinga obulogoyi naye mulimu ate bali bennyini abatakola kantu konna mu kkomera.
Omusajja ono Kizito Robert yakwatibwa ssabbiiti 3 eziyise naye nga kati asangiddwa nga ye Katikkiro wa kaduukulu kano era ng'omulimu gwakola gwa kutulugunya abasibe baveemu ensimbi z'abakulu. Kaweesi era alabudde abasirikale ba Ssemugayaavu nti obwabwe bubakeeredde nga kino kidiridde okusanga abakulira poliisi eziri ku Northern Bypass okubanga ebyokukola babivaako nga kati basiiba mu kwesanyusa.
Ate mbitadde mu madaala bw'ebanga main station ng'eno CPS nensanga nga waliwo obunafu gwensooka okuteeka munda ye RPC naddirwako DPC we naddibwako ne station commander we.
Kaweesi era aweze emmotoka za breakdown ezibadde zisimba ku poliisi ez'enjawulo ng'agamba nti aba traffic bazirinako akakwate.
Ekyo bakikozesa lwakuba bamanyi nti breakdown zaabwe zibeera ku station za poliisi era baagala kukozesa ekyo okulaba nga basigala babba abantu mu ngeri eyo. Ate sijja n'endowooza y'abantu balowooza nti breakdown osanga za basirikale oyinza okusanga nga kituufu naye kati nze nziweze bunnambiro.
Deni Lubowa Sava, NTV.
Webale nnyo Den Lubowa Sava. Ekitongole ky'amazzi ki National Water and Sewage Corporation wamu ne poliisi bakoze ekikwekweto ekyokufuuza abenyigira mu kubba amazzi mu Kampala era nga yebuwungeeredde nga babiri bakwatiddwa. Okusinziira ku bakulu mu kitongole kino obubbi bw'amazzi businze kubeera mu bwozi bwa mmotoka abaakazibwako eri akanaabe.
Two presentations which we are going to receive now.
Olunaku lwali ekitongole ky'amazzi ki National Water and Sewage Corporation kitongoza kaweefube okufeffeta kampuni n'abantu abenyigira mu kubba amazzi. Kwekweto bitandikidde mu Kampala nga basoose kufunza abooza mmotoka.
What is this? I don't know. And yet is your washing machine? Yes. I've just taken over the washing machine. How do I know?
Play with water. Water is like somebody's life. You're getting me? Others are lacking water. For you are getting water without
you are about
passing through the meter, which is very bad.
Can you check my meter whether it's running or not? Yeah.
Akulya kampuni ya Evolution Limited eyoza emmotoka e Nakasero wano mu Kampala taluwonye. Bwe bavudde wano ne balekera mu katale wa Kisekka ekimotoka kya Water gye kifuukudde payipu z'amazzi ze badde bakozesa okubba amazzi.
Omuzo gw'okubba amazzi munene nnyo mu Kampala. Bwe twogerera tufiirwa amazzi agenkana mu percentage. Ku buli 10 tufiirwa amazzi agaweza 38 n'ekitundu.
Abakolera wano ekyokubba amazzi bakitadde ku bwavu n'obutategeera lulimi biiru z'amazzi mwe zifulumira.
Mwe muleeta ne mita eyo kiraba mita omuntu tebamusomesa mita ebaleetya okiraba ng'ojja n'oinstallinga buki bwinstolinzi ne baleeta olulimi mu luzungu si buli omuntu yasoma.
Minisita w'ebyamazzi n'obutonde bw'ensi Ephraim Kamuntu ategeeza nga gavumenti bwe ekitongole ky'amazzi ensimbi entono.
If water is life, how come for all these years in our budgetary debate water is not given that life?
Ekitongole ky'amazzi kifiirwa obumbi bw'ensimbi obuli mu bubiri buli mwaka nga kino kiva ku bakozesa amazzi mu bukyamu. Kimuli Ivan Kigozi, NTV.
Kabana bakwatiddwa mu district y'e Namayingo nga bateberezebwa okukumpanya ssente President Museveni ze yabatwalira mu kutiya omwaka oguwedde. Ate era e Namayingo ebbula ly'amazzi lyeraliikiriza nga bangi naddala abakyala bagamba nti batuuse n'okufiirwa obufumbo.
Olube n'akalulu k'ebusoga byavuga e Namayingo President Museveni lwe yatumye ekisawo ky'ensimbi ne bakireeta nga mulimu obukadde 250 ze yatonera abavubuka. Ekiteretebwa ky'ennusu President yakibawanga 2 omwezi ogwokuna omwaka oguwedde wabula nga tewannayita na mwaka abamu batandise dde okubasikambula amasaati nga babalanga okuzibulankanya. Mu lukiiko olwatudde olunaku lwa jjo bammemba bana ab'ekibiina ky'obwegassi ki Namayingo Boda Boda Sacco baakwatiddwa. Kigambibwa nti ekibiina kino kibadde kiddukanyizibwa abantu 2 nga ne maneja waakyo agambibwa okwewa looni ko n'abeewaabwe. RDC w'e Namayingo Mpimbaza Ashaka alabudde nti wakunyweza bonna abeddiza ensimbi zino. Era mu district yemwe y'e Namayingo ekyeya kisobedde bangi nga kati amazzi bawamantamawammante. Abantu kati amazzi bagakima mu bidiba omunywera ente oluvannyuma lwa nayikondo ezimu okukalira. Abakyali Namayingo bagamba nti ebbula ly'amazzi lituuza okubasobaganya ne babbaabwe kuba babanenya olw'okulwa gye banoonya agafumba nga n'olumu basiibayo.
Waliwo okwoza, waliwo okunaaba, waliwo okufumba, woovuga n'omusaada yakuba ati wavuga mu basaada owulire.
Bonaabona amaadhi getunwa eninga kati tunaaba tuli bwawo tutyo.
Ekidomola ky'amazzi ekyali ku nnusu 50 kati bakitunda 500 ng'abatuuze bangi tebasobola kuzigulamu mazzi. Abatunda amazzi ate bo bali ku mugano nga gwa nswa.
Olunaku nsomba ebidomola byange nga 50 nkaaga buli kidomola era buli kidomola ndikitunda mu tawuni enamba eno ndikitunda esingi bitya esingi 5 buli kidomola.
Omusana mungi nnyo ebiseera bino ng'ebitundu by'eggwanga bingi bikoseddwa.
Aro, give me 5 stress, 3 gonorrhea.
Kale muli wano you think you've brought capacas omwana yenna asobola okugamba super deep si myaka gyaffe.
I'm like, I like my swag too. So what about it? Then she was like, I also like your accent. That village accent. Now.
Mwagala mchimbili wana kuza kele chili chianu chili okay wale tinsanyu fu weneyoka political otayakana nomuzanga nakajawa.
Kati nekambuuza mukabete why are you crying? Nekagamba abasajja engeri gye bafulumiza mu lukwago.
I think I'm Big Mitch. Larry Hoover. Put that in Kiprotich's accent.
I think I'm Big Mitch. Larry Hoover.
On the next episode of Destiny River.
Ah, and he rides so well.
You look alike. He's taken your posture.
She's dead.
Our land is good and fertile. We could build a house. We could...
What was that? House? Did you say a house?
Don't think I'm scared of this hulking beast.
Destiny River.
Abakulu okuva mu kitongole ekirondoola eddagala n'emirimu gy'abasawo mu ofiisi y'obwa President bagambye nti abasawo ba gavumenti abasinga ssente ze babadde babanja zabaweereddwa omwezi oguwedde era ng'abatannaba kufuna baakuzifuna mu March. Akulira ekitongole kino Dr. Dana Atwine agamba nti kyakwanguwa nnyo singa ababalirizi b'ebitabo baweereza ebikwatagana n'abasawo bano mu budde. Atwine agamba nti disitulikiti esinze okukosebwa ye ya Kisoro kubanga abasawo 164 si baakusasulwa okuggyako nga ebiboogerako biweerezeddwa eri ekitongole ky'abakozi ba gavumenti. Atwine abadde ayanukula Dr. Lulume Bayiga nga ye minisita w'ebyobulamu ku ludda oluwabula gavumenti eyagamba nti abasawo basaana okwekalakaasa olw'obutasasulwa.
Abakozi baffe tebasasulwa misaala. Emisaala egyo emitono gye babawa ate gavumenti tegisasula.
Naye tusanze nga waliwo ebintu bingi ebireeteddeyo abakozi bano okubula omusaala. Ekisooka twasanga nti oluusi information ejja ku public service etuuka late. Ekirala information gye baweereza oluusi okuva mu district. Tusanze wano kwamba batulaga information gye baweereza nga tekuli signature, tekuli stamp, tekuli date of birth. Ministry ya finance yatukakasa nti sente gye ziri okujjako era nti waliyo n'abalala bebawa emirimu mu district nga tebamaze kwebuuza ku finance n'osanga ng'abantu babawa emirimu outside the budget ze babawa kati n'osanga abantu ange tebalina musaala.
Basajja batu ne bakazi batu tebakyalina na mmere gye bassa ku mmeeza. Bo bawadde ensalessale eri minisita w'ebyobulamu ne bamutegeeza nti bagenda kussa wansi empiso n'ebikozesebwa.
Sobodde okukolagana ne public service n'abalala bekikwatako nti abakozi baffe kati amndooza 9 ku 10 kati bagenda ku accessinga omusaala gwabwe ne areas zaabwe okuva mu December. Naye abalala batasobodde abaweereza information elirate bajja kufuna omusaala mu March.
Ebweru w'eggwanga embeera mu ggwanga lya Central African Republic ekyayongera okuyungula ezziga ekisinga okwennyamiza kati y'engeri abasiraamu abali mu ggwanga lino gye basengulwamu okutwalibwa mu mawanga nga Cameroon ne Chad okwewala ekibambulira ekiyinza okubatuukako.
Embeera mu ggwanga lino ya Central African Republic yafuuka ya bwerinde okuva ku byokulya okutuuka ku byokusula era nga buli omu ali ku bunkenke. Kino kiva ku lutalo luli mu ggwanga lino abakristaayo bavuunikira gavumenti y'abasiraamu eyaliko era okuva olwo duka yali ku mumwa. Mu kiseera kino abasinze okukosebwa basiraamu ng'ebintu byabwe binyagiddwa mu ngeri y'okwesasuza bangi battiddwa so nga balala bawanganguse mu nsi yaabwe. Mu nkambi eno y'ebboli abasiraamu abagirimu balabye ku ndaba kuki mmotoka eno lukululana bwezza okubatwala mu ggwanga lya Cameroon. Abakristaayo abaliwo babategeeza dda nti babeetaaga era balina okwamuka ekifo kino n'olwekyo mmotoka eno bwezze buli omu abadde alina okugyeyuna kubanga tamanyi eddako lwe liddamu kujja.
No more Muslims here. Get out, he says.
Abakazi nga balina abaana ku migongo balabiddwa nga balafuubana okulinnya kubanga singa basigala oba oli awo bayinza okuttibwa. Buli omu ali mu nkambi eno alina okufuba okulaba nga akozesa omukisa okudduka wadde nga bakumya amagye ag'omuka gwa Afrika. Gavumenti ey'ekiseera eri mu buyinza wadde egezezaako kubakuuma naye tewali bukakafu nti ddala tebabesasuzeeko. Abakristaayo balanga abayisiraamu nabo okubayisa obubi mu kiseera bwe bafugira eggwanga lino.
Don't touch them. It's their wish. They want to leave. They were your brothers before. You were with them. You have to let them go in peace.
Omwana alekeddwa awo ttayo olwa mukadde wasobodde okulinnya mmotoka eno mu bwangu ye n'amwerabira oba oli awo tebaliddamu kusisinkana. Ono omuzeeyi naye y'omu ku abasengudde okuva mu ggwanga mwabadde emyaka n'ebisiibo nga kati naye ayolekedde eggwanga lya Cameroon. Abasiraamu abalala baddukira mu ggwanga lya Chad. Olutalo lw'eddiini mu ggwanga lino lya Central African Republic lireese enkumi n'enkumi z'abantu nga bafudde so nga bala bangi bawanganguse.
Mutendesi wa ttiimu ya KCCA George Nsimbe agamba nti okugwa amaliiri kwe batuuseeko ne ttiimu ya Nkana Red Devils e Zambia tekigenda kubeeyunuza okuggyako okwongeramu amaanyi okulaba nga bawangula omupiira ogw'okuddiŋŋana ku lw'omukaaga luno mu kisaawe e Namboole. Ttiimu zombi zaagudde maliri goolo 2-2 mu kibuga Kitwe wiikendi ewedde.
Okujjawo kino ekintu ky'okugamba nti ttiimu za Uganda naddala bwe tugenda ebweru tusamba bubi. So nsuubira nti ku mulundi guno tugezezza okukola nti mbijjawo era twakola nti ttiimu esobola okugulira kwawe n'awaka. Omulundi guli twalaba kyokola nti omulundi gwajjo twakomyewo abavubuka bajja kutraining olunaku olwaleero era bazze nga mu byonna kusobola banongesa bwongo era kyembadde nkola abavubuka gezaako banongesa obwongo tulabe nti tutuddamu kola nsobi gye twakola luli. Omupiira guno gukyali open nnyo era tulina okukola nti tujja twayiza wamu nti bannayuganda n'abavuzi ba KCC tubalage kusanyuwa waka tulina okukola nsobi gye twakola mulundi guli okuba nti twetegeka mangu nnyo tulabe nti tufuna obuwanguzi buno.
Mu mizannyo emirala kyaddaaki omutendesi Manuel Pellegrini awangudde ku kikopo ku lukalu lwa Bulaaya oluvannyuma lw'okutandika okutendeka omupiira emyaka kati 10 emabega. Olunaku lw'eggulo ttiimu eya Manchester City yakubye Sunderland goolo 3-1 mu mpaka ez'akamalirizo ez'ekikopo kya Capital One Cup ezabadde mu kisaawe kya Wembley.
Manuel Pellegrini agamba nti obuwanguzi bwe batuuseeko olunaku lw'eggulo bwakubayamba nnyo mu kaweefube gwe balimu ow'okuwangula ebikopo 3 mu sizoni emu, ekintu kumpi buli ttiimu kye yeegwanyiza okukola wabula nga tekiba kyangu. Manchester City yakubye Sunderland goolo 3-1 ekyaleetedde omutendesi Pellegrini okuwangula ekikopo kye ekisooka mu Bungereza. Manchester City yakwambalagana ne Wigan mu za quarter finals mu kikopo kya FA so nga n'ekya liigi ya Bungereza nakyo ekiri kumpi. Manchester City eri mu kifo kya 4 nga Chelsea ekulembedde mu liigi ya Bungereza ebasinga obubonero 6 kyokka nga Chelsea yakazanya emipiira 2 okusinga ku Manchester City. Ate mu Spain, Cristiano Ronaldo yanunudde ttiimu ye eya Real Madrid bwe yagiteebedde goolo ey'ekyenkanyi nga bambalagana ne Atletico Madrid. Karim Benzema ye yasoose okuteebera Madrid eyabadde ku bugenyi kyokka Koke naye n'ateeba ggoolo ey'ekyenkanyi. Kati Madrid yekulembedde mu liigi ya Spain ng'esinza Barcelona eri mu kyokubiri akabonero kamu kokka. Barcelona yakubye Almeria ggoolo 4-1 olunaku lw'eggulo.
NTV, turning on your world. Program Guide. Today's highlight with
New geisha with extracts from Mother Nature.
Well, I don't know how I did it, but that's every last dollar. If you want, you can count it.
No, there's no need to do that. No. Where did this con man come from?
The depths of the ocean. Lucho Vampa moves like a fish in water.
That dirty rat was laughing at me in my own house, and he was right under my nose.
Lucho Vampa went right up front to the door of the house, and you weren't able to catch him?
My mom always wants what's best for us. That's why she uses new geisha with extracts from nature. New geisha with extracts from Mother Nature.
And the change of government won't stop a thing. I've run out of fingers counting the number of multinationals sitting up here. What about the 3 companies that announced their plans to launch last week? I say they're shopping. Me, I'd be looking to sell. At what price? More. Much more. I don't know who you are or how you know these things, but one thing I'm sure of, you're in the wrong job. Here, call me tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd like to hear more from you. Are you ready for your big break? The East African, understanding the region. You're watching Morning at NTV.
Night to darkness and let the light of motivation and inspirational thoughts take control of your mind and actions. Ladies and gentlemen, start a beautiful day right here on Morning at NTV with Brian, Mabel, Joel, Kasiate and Daka Bachigongo on the hottest ticket to a beautiful morning. Ladies and gentlemen, Morning at NTV starts right now with the question of the day. Good morning. like my friend Simon Cassette says, it's slightly overcast over the rooftop of the Serena Hotel. And if you answer that question, you could be enjoying this beautiful mag with your coffee every morning. The first 5 respondents will each win a mag for Morning at NTV. So get texting to 6565, get tweeting to Morning at NTV, and Facebooking to Morning at NTV. Remember to follow us and like our pages first before you answer the questions. Mabel is standing by at the NTV studios at the International Conference Center, and here she is with the stories that are making headlines. Good morning, Mabel.
Good morning, Bran, and I really wish I could have some of your chai. I think I'll ask our lovely producer to bring me a cup as well. Well, thank you for joining us today this Tuesday morning. I'm Mabel Kebirunji, and these are some of the stories that are making headlines. Severe drought has hit parts of Nakasongola district. President Museveni meets NRM lawmakers to devise strategies for mobilizing in the coming elections, and Prime Minister says a suspension of aid will make government incur huge costs to farms it contracted.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
It has hit parts of Nakasongola district after months of no rain. The result now is a shortage of food and livestock dying in numbers. The district is also registering a significant drop in the price of beef, with a kilogram now going for as little as 1,500 shillings. A kilogram of the same in Kampala at the moment is between 6,500 to 8,000. We have this report.
The sight that greets you as soon as you get into the villages of Siche, Sasira and Kakundi in Nakasongola district is quite disturbing. Dry brown grassland similar to the one you'll find in the Sahara Desert. The only difference is that the brown grassland has not always been like this. At one point, it was all green. These are signs of the scarcity in the region. We go further to Nankwanga Valley Dam. It is a dam that normally sustains about 500 people and their domestic animals, but the once busy dam is now dry. That, however, does not stop the desperate locals from collecting what they can, even if all they get is muddy water. Several other dams have been affected as well, and we learned that the situation has been like this since late last year.
In the dam yet quantity musana fenna owawa no wawa musanga wana
kati abantu bachajja okukima amazzi
tibachajja kati bagenda bala bagagwa
sana gubadde mungi ebisolo byaffe bifa abantu tetuyina mbeera lw'amazzi.
In Siche village away from Kakundi stands the single borehole serving about 400 people from at least 3 villages. They walk several kilometers to get to it, but they worry that they're exhausting their only remaining water source.
Nga bwe mbabaze abantu kiba kitegeeza nti tuba tulima ebidomola 10 era tutuuka ssaawa nga 2 ez'ekiro ne tusiba bo okuwummulamu oluusi essaawa etuuka n'esika empewo.
The reality of water scarcity continues to sink further in our minds as we traverse several parts of Nakasongola district. The few dams left with a little water attract many whose options are fast running out. They are mainly from the predominantly cattle-keeping community.
Okay. This is Wampiti village in Nakasongola district, where we have had reports of animals dying because of famine and drought. Now apparently we have just been called here because there is a cow that seems to have collapsed. We'd like to know what is the situation.
So far the situation is not good in our area in Nakasongola district. As you can see, one of the animal is now about to collapse. It fell down because it cannot sustain itself. The legs broke.
Okay, we are seeing that all the grass here has been cut and it has been burnt as well. What is wrong?
So far the problem we have in the area is that we have some people who don't have animals. They end up burning the bush, and at the end results we don't have enough pasture, we don't have water, so we end up suffering, as you can see. So we decided to get some leaves and to feed the animal. So far a kilo is costing between 1,000 and 2,000 per kilo. And really it is even a blessing to get some people to buy such a really an animal like this one, because some of them, they just, like this one which collapsed from here. It is very hard to get some people who are going to buy it. Others, what they do, they just get the skin and they leave the meat there.
District leaders confirm the crisis and blame a few government officials for stalling some of the programs that could have alleviated the crisis.
But what these people are now asking farmers to pay is above the market price of engaging a private person to sink valley tanks. For example, a valley tank of capacity 3,000 cubic meters or 2,500 cubic meters by the private people is being sunk at 4 million shillings. But our own government equipment wants 6 millions. Now we are puzzled. Farmers are saying, but how now?
This is not the first time Nakasongola district has been hit. Residents say that this takes place every year, but this year's spell has been the worst so far. Sohail Mugabi, NTV, Nakasongola district.
How very unfortunate. The NRM lawmakers who endorsed President Museveni to stand for the 2016 polls last month yesterday met the president at State House NTV to devise strategies for mobilizing countrywide support for him ahead of the elections. The resolution that was unanimously agreed upon was reached at the NRM caucus retreat in Chankwanzi. Maurice Ochol reports.
Last month, his NRM caucus resolution of endorsing President Yoweri Museveni to stand for the 2016 polls has been described by some commentators as a huge blow to Uganda's democratic process. The resolution was followed by the signing of a document by all the NRM leaders who were for the idea. Now, the president has called for an exclusive meeting at State House Entebbe for lawmakers who signed a motion in Chankwanzi.
And so we have 240 people who have already signed the motion. And all these guys are supposed to come, the MPs who have signed the motion are supposed to come for this meeting.
The NRM caucus spokesperson Evelyn Anita Kajik says the meeting will discuss ways of popularizing the president's candidacy across the country.
We have to go and mobilize for him, and we're supposed to speak for it in all the forums, radio stations, in our regions, church services. In every forum, basically, in all the forums.
The legislators are also expected to deliberate on the prevailing political situation.
We will also take time and reflect on the general politics in the country.
The meeting has set in motion a vigorous campaign of getting President Yoweri Museveni back at the helm of government in 2016. Maurice Ochol, NTV.
Prime Minister Mama Mbabazi says the recent suspension of aid by the World Bank and other Western nations will make the government incur huge costs to firms it contracted for services. This as it emerged that the government signed contracts with service providers on the understanding that they would pay up after receiving donor funds. We have more in this report.
The World Bank last week announced the suspension of a $90 million loan to Uganda because of President Museveni's enactment of the anti-homosexuality law. The loan was meant to improve Uganda's healthcare system, but the suspension may see government face legal action and lose money to service providers for breaching a contract it signed with them.
Because we were at an advanced stage, this was an ongoing project. It means government may not be able to meet its obligations, contractual obligations, because apparently some contracts had already been entered with the service providers. So this will have a cost.
The Prime Minister says government will now have to review budgets of other sectors in order to meet its obligations.
Naturally, some other areas will suffer, but that's inevitable. And I've said obviously, it's something that we would have loved to avoid, but if they unilaterally take decisions, what do? We will have to march on.
Babazi, however, took a swipe at donors for their condemnation of the anti-homosexuality law without appreciating the democratic process in which it was enacted.
It's not a nice thing to do, and if you want my personal opinion, I don't think they are doing the right thing.
The Prime Minister also responded to reports that recently appeared in the media about his alleged intention to stand against President Museveni in the 2016 elections.
I am the one who decides what to do for myself. Okay? And I have said NRM, through its established methods, will choose who its candidates will be, and certainly I will not stand against President Museveni. If you want me to repeat it, I will not stand against President Museveni.
President Museveni has lately been calling on government technocrats to stop corrupt tendencies and be frugal in their spending in order to run programs without relying on donor aid.
And that is all we had for you in today's morning bulletin. We now return to the Kampala Serena Hotel rooftop to Brian, Joel and Simon for the press review.
Tuesday, an interesting date here, the 4th day of March 2014, but a little typographical error in the Daily Monitor that still believes it's February the 4th. So there you are, but it's today's newspaper in March of 2014. The Daily Monitor is what we're looking at in this morning's edition of the press review with my usual boys, Brian and Joel. Good morning.
For some reason, this guy insists on calling us boys. What is your case?
There
State it now, or forever remain silent.
It is a case of, well, without offending you, the shorter colleagues watching us on TV, but small men syndrome is such that there's always an exaggerated sense of self-worth. But we can put that aside and look at the Daily Monitor this morning.
You have that a lot, but you'll be
Police to arrest more pro-Mbabazi youth. That's the headline screaming out in your copy of the Daily Monitor this morning. Let's remember that there is a crackdown on youth who are purportedly going around the country collecting signatures to push the current Prime Minister, Right Honorable Amam Mbabazi, to contest for the presidency under the NRM flag. And the police is saying the youth are not mandated whatsoever to collect signatures on behalf of the NRM. And yes, they are not using just the ordinary police, but they are using the police flying squad that deals with hardcore criminals. Now, what
so
hardcore criminology is this?
Criminals, eh?
There we are.
But Mbabazi, they are saying that if it's the president, he's not going to stand against the president.
Let me actually read this quote. Yesterday did say, I will not stand against President Museveni. This is something I've said before and I'm repeating now for the last time. I will not stand against the president.
Yes.
But you see, I'll tell you, politicians are people you do not want to believe. You want to take whatever they say with a pinch of salt. Today they say this, tomorrow they say something else. So I will not be too shocked.
Let's narrow down on the politician called Mbabazi that we're dealing with. To what extent has he been a flip-flop kind of politician? Because you know there are politicians whose name is shrouded in flip-flops. If you mention John Kendo Chamuzi, beyond the drama, he's just Mr. Flip-flop. He says one thing and does the other. When you talk about, drop any name here and I'll tell you that simply flip-flops. What about Mbabazi? Is he one of those you describe as a flip-flop?
I'll tell you, they're all cut from the same cloth. He's a gentleman. He's somebody, you know, many times when people are like, now they have you this time round. Oops, he gets let off the hook and that kind of thing. But I'll not be shocked, yeah? If he does rescind this at some point, I will not be utterly shocked at all.
And if he lives up to his word, will that add to the number, to the amount of credentials you hold him in?
Somewhat. Not entirely, but somewhat.
Relatedly, there is a story playing out in the Daily Monitor that does not give so much detail, but one that gives quite an amount of insight as to what the political goings-on are with regard to the Museveni-Mbabazi project come 2016. 200 and, yes, I'm putting Museveni-Mbabazi. I mean, I
Which one is that? I've not heard of that one.
Well, now you are. 240 MPs meet at State House. This has been a rally of President Museveni getting together his friendly legislators who signed that famous Ngoma Declaration, urging him to be the sole flag bearer for the NRM. They gathered at State House yesterday. I have a suspicion that my guest of yesterday, Honorable Peter Ogwang, must have been one of these 240.
Certainly.
He looked buoyant. He was extremely smart and sharp in his suit. I could have blamed it for a Monday, but I think he had something.
So ordinarily he doesn't dress that sharply.
Well, he was a little bit exceptionally smart.
Yeah, he usually dresses down, and yesterday he was...
You know, well, I can't have the statistics, but I've met some young people who say this bunch of young people are a total let down, they are a total disappointment. But on their part, they feel this is the man to lead us there, you know. But there's youth who feel, wait a minute, we need to look beyond this. Who says there can only be one bull in the corral? Who says there's no potential elsewhere?
And not only young members of parliament that are completely let down, if that's the word to use with regard to the fifth term project of President Yoweri Museveni. We see the Daily Monitor reporting that pastors, the Uganda Pastors Network, an organization of more than 1,000 born-again Christian pastors, have said they will work with the government ahead of 2016 polls. And what do they mean by working with government? Of course, supporting President Yoweri Museveni's fifth term bid. So there you are, you have the pastors on one hand, you've got youth MPs, you've got peasants, you've got elites. So you've got a country that's moving towards having a president in President Museveni after 2016.
And I want to also ask Joel, you know, for a long time, and people keep saying, why doesn't he leave? Why doesn't he leave? And sometimes I think to myself, but this is what politics is about. Bring your best candidate. NRM brings the best candidate, whatever all these parties bring. And as they say, Zabike.
But you see, if you are a good politician, you need to know when it's time to leave. You need to know when it's time to nurture other people. You talk about pastors, for example. Yesterday I did hear Honorable Anita say something that I thought, what in the world is this young lady saying? She said, you know, let the youth stand behind the president. Pastors, they should now, you know, in churches, we should, this Club 9 thing of theirs that they did start, you know, want to go and propagate the gospel of the fifth term before pulpits. And I'm thinking this nonsense has got to stop. Pulpits have been abused, used politically. And pastors are to blame. For goodness sake, we need to see that in church, because in church there's literally everybody, yeah, for you to keep giving pulpits to these fellows to keep saying whatever they want to say, and I don't care whether it's a government politician or an opposition politician, I think that's absolute nonsense.
And they being wise, you know, ahead of the polls, and they being wise, and this is a smart move, they're always planning on how to win the next election. Meanwhile, the opposition is always planning on how to stop the next election.
You see, for me, my point is the way pulpits are being used for politics, I think that is wrong. Like, this is something we need to extricate ourselves from. We cannot see it happen again and again, because you see, in the church, among the congregation, there's people that belong to the NRM, there's people that belong to the opposition, etc., etc. And for goodness sake, people have come to listen to a good sermon, not to listen to some lousy politician tell them a lot of crap that they don't even intend to fulfill at the end of the day. Me, I'm just sick and tired of it.
There you have it, Brian and Joel, sick and tired of the pulpit. But certainly not about see the end to it.
On the pulpit.
Not about see an end to it. Now, the bite is getting deeper into our flesh with the signing of the anti-homosexuality law. We've seen some casualties falling by the wayside, and one of them is reported in the Daily Monitor. A Ugandan legislator who had been nominated for an interesting award in the United States of America had this award cancelled on her. Why? Because of her strong and firm belief that what was done to sign this bill into law was the right thing to do. Christine Abia, member of parliament, woman member of parliament for Arua, finds herself in this situation. Get yourself a copy of the Daily Monitor this morning and find out what kind of issues are playing out with regard to this award. Now you can see that the girl.
Actually, we are yet to see many more casualties, you know, in this kind of regard. But yeah, it's the price you've got to take. When you dig in your heels, make a certain decision, you've got to be ready for all the ramifications that come with it. So you will see a lot more of this.
At the risk of sounding vain, I am beginning to get the temptation of giving back to CNN the award they gave me in 2004. Because I think it was part of this gay lobby that I did not understand.
Get over it. It's 2004. That's how many years ago.
Simply because my story was interviewing a Ugandan lesbian, which was a first on Ugandan radio, by the way.
Right.
So I want to believe that the story may not have been as good as they want me to believe it was, but it was simply because it was breaking ground in the homosexuality thing. I think I am as guilty as charged. I possibly shouldn't have done that story. But I mean, what's done is undone.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what make me what I am.
Who you are.
Absolutely. Interesting news this morning for you who've been serving with the National Social Security Fund. This fund of ours is now 3.9 billion Ugandan shillings rich.
That's
now
awesome.
Trillion. So there we are. We have got a huge basket from which to dip our fingers come the 2016 general election.
So is that any done? Tell me about that.
There was, of course, some unconfirmed reports that...
Please put some flesh to your allegations.
I will leave it at that. When I have people who do not want to listen to sense.
Okay, let's hold you on that one, Kasiate. You need to expound on that.
Daily Monitor. Of course, for the ignorant ones, now let me put it to you, that in the last election, the NRM put not so much into force with regard to what we always accuse them of doing, beating up opponents and carrying out a lot of voter intimidation. What they did was raid the central bank and get out enough money to bribe you and everyone to vote for them. That's the allegation on the street. Now, when you have the National Social Security Fund, 3.9 trillion strong, what do you think remains to be done when it comes to 2016? Your guess is as good as mine.
Finally, your man enough to expound on what
they
exactly
leave that money intact? And I think Biaruhanga has done a very good job rebranding NSSF and kind of bringing back our trust. You know, he has done a.
Do you trust them now?
Just to remind you that he's not the
current. Yes,
and there's possibly no chance he will be the chief executive in 2015. And possibly we'll have a vulture in there as opposed to an astute manager as Biarugaba was. So
and I pray that, you know, for NSSF's sake, they get a technocrat like him who knows how to manage things like those. But I think they've come a long way.
But NSSF has always had technocrats. They never
people
had
who actually probably that's been their undoing. They are too sharp that they know how to maneuver along the way. But NSSF, for goodness sake, has become a ghost of sorts. We keep losing money there. Yes, there's lots of money which keeps losing value, but we cannot invest it. Why? Because we don't trust these people. Well, because they've also not given us, adequate room to trust them well enough.
No, but you have decisions and actions of the NSSF determined by people who are not even members of the NSSF. For example, members of parliament do not serve with NSSF, and many of them run businesses that employ more than 5 people and do not comply to the legislation that you must register more than 5 employees under NSSF. But then you find them waxing lyrical and making a lot of noise about NSSF. Then you find the which have about
you elected these MPs to be your representatives.
Less than 20% of the actual servers in NSSF. NSSF doesn't have more than 50,000 savers with all this amount of money. So you find that there are a lot of indifferent people who make a lot of noise over NSSF, and NSSF finds itself in a conundrum. They are unable to move this huge monetary portfolio into some serious investments because everything they do, they are damned if they do, they are damned if they don't, and then you find yourself languishing with this so much money that would otherwise be put into making lives better, creating jobs and providing accommodation that's largely needed by you in the middle class who actually spend much of your money, 10%, 15% of your money to the NSSF.
There was a debate that if another player came into the market,
private player,
yes, and I think NSSF then would be compelled to make sure that they clean up their services. Celtel was there, MTN came, things became better. Warid joined. You know, we started getting some free calls. Things are a lot better now with many players in the market. And so,
the movie lovers, this morning you will be interested to get a feel of what took place yesterday at the Oscars. We've got the whole next magazine dedicated to Lupita Nyong'o, who was dressed in an interesting
dress and making things happen.
Absolutely. She cut her teeth acting in several stages around this region, including and not limited to Uganda. So there are many of you who possibly could have caught a bit of her at the National Theatre, but never realized she was the big girl making it huge on the silver screens.
Yeah, that's what happens. People undermine people. You might look at Brian Murondo here and you undermine his potential. Tomorrow you might see him on CNN and be like, this is the guy who was seated with here, taking tea with...
I actually first noticed this girl, really noticing in a Kenya production called Sugar, and she was brilliant in that, in that series. And now look at her.
There was something about her being Mexican or something like that.
I know she was born in Mexico, but her parents, she's born to a Kenyan.
She's a Jaluo. She's a Jaluo. Come on, she's a Jaluo, and she's the first Jaluo to win an Oscar. So really,
you have really emphasized.
Yes. So we have children born around this time, all of them getting the name Lupita to themselves, so as to rub onto the star-studded celebrity status.
My second born will be Lupita.
Is it? Let's wait.
Lupita Murondo. Yeah, and it kind of makes sense.
That second born was made last night. Congratulations in advance. Prosper,
look at this man.
The Ugandan wine exporter, is a headline story in Prosper magazine this morning, and it's featuring the proprietor of Bella Wine, how to turn that bitter into riches. For you, young boys and girls at home relaxing, or those of you who are making it to school, you can implore your daddy and mommy to get yourself a copy of the Daily Monitor, for in there you've got your favorite pull-out Rainbow magazine. There is an interesting feature story of a girl who plays football, so it's not lost on you if you're a girl. You can be able to achieve your dream by playing that spot that was otherwise known to be the preserve of men. What do we have,
this
Father?
one story. Brian, do you take wine? Okay. There's a time I met a young man who was at, the Wandegea traffic lights. Apparently, he had a bottle of wine, and an afande stopped him and said, "You man, you're drinking and driving." And the man said, "No, what's in here is actually water." And the afande said, "Can you taste it?" So he poured, and it was wine. And the young man said, "Jesus, you have done it again." Hope it's not the case for you.
Well, before we get down to the sports section, there is your usual oil and gas pullout in the Daily Monitor, and we are talking about the oil refinery compensations, a mixed bag of hope and despair for residents. It's a center spread, an interesting look at how it's playing out in the Albertine Graben, where we are carrying out a number of oil prospects. What do we have in the red paper this morning, Brian? We didn't get a copy of the red paper?
Yes, we didn't get a copy of the red paper, and Mr. Rugendo, please send these copies as soon as possible.
You're giving him an open rebuke.
An open rebuke on national TV, and people watching us, the whole, after Simon's outburst with Pastor Sempa, many people are watching this show. So please send those things, and the website also needs to be updated. I think I've made my point. But
very clear
about the compensation of the oil people, and how they were controlling what people are supposed to use that money for. Is that?
And actually,
right?
some don't even know apparently that they're supposed to be compensated.
Because there were stories of guys being given money, and the guy says, I want to go and marry another wife. And then government says, no, you cannot do whatever you want.
I think people need to be guided, but you cannot enforce. It is their money. Ultimately, they might waste it or whatever the case might be, but they need to be guided. Whether or not they should hound them and say, this is what you should do with your money, I don't know. I don't think that's right.
The sports section of the Daily Monitor this morning, an interesting front back page picture of an airborne chikankane shining through this edition of Motorsport.
If you're chikankane used to mean many things back in the day.
Now it is representative of a car. But hey, let's get down to the picture of the day in the Daily Monitor. You remember that picture? It played out some months ago where President Yoweri Museveni took a public HIV test. And of course, today we see playing out in the Daily Monitor the First Lady, Janet Museveni, taking yet another public test, HIV test, conducted by the same doctor, but this time around she's wearing gloves. But you should look very closely at the facial expressions of the First Lady. Pain has no boundaries.
There you go. We should do a live HIV test one of these days on Morning at NTV.
Bring it on. This brings us to the end of our set of press review this morning. It's incumbent upon you to stay tuned for what's coming next. Is certainly something you don't want to miss. It's the big story up next. Stay with us.
Let me tell you one thing. Will you shut your lips? There is something you need to know about Chris.
And that I'll fight my corner. Maybe tonight
I don't want him anyone near my baby. I don't want to see him.
No, just save it. Save it.
Stop it. That's what happened. Doctor, I don't get what you're saying.
This woman is trouble. She's going to ruin my everything. I can't even trust myself around her.
Remember who the boss is here.
How can I forget? She's running after a married man and she's making me do all her dirty work.
I can't see you.
Oh, give me love, mama, give me love. Give me love like never before. 'Cause lately I've been craving more.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
On the next episode of Destiny River.
Oh, and he rides so well.
You look alike. He's taken your posture.
She's dead.
Our land is good and fertile. We could build a house. We could...
What was that? House? Did you say a house?
Don't think I'm scared of this hulking beast.
Destiny River.
She was molested when she was 6 by someone she trusted.
The doctors finally walked into the door. They basically were telling me that she had a 5% chance of living.
I couldn't understand how somebody that tells you they loved you, that held you as a child, could abuse you.
Tommy Scott grew up among gang violence, drugs, and poverty in the projects of South Central Los Angeles.
I felt not normal, not good. I wasn't lovable.
As a teen, Melissa discovered that drinking gave some relief.
Tommy is free today and continues to tell people that it was Jesus who changed his life.
The time I spent in prison, I spent putting my ideas together on, how I was going to come back and make it all right.
And I realized my purpose, that I was created to reflect the glory of God.
Duke now realizes why God kept him alive.
These were real people facing desperate situations, just like you and me.
Jesus died to set you free, and he can give you a new heart.
Aro, give me 5 stress, 3 gonorrhea.
Kale muli wano, you think you've brought capacas? Omwana yena sobola gamba super deep. Si myaka jaffe.
I'm like, I like my swag too. So what about it? Then she was like, I also like your accent. That village accent. Now.
Okay, why did you when you got political tayaka no muzanga nakajawa.
Katina kambuza. Mukabete, why are you crying? Nikagamba basajengere je bafulumiza mu lukwago.
I think I'm Big Mitch. Larry Hoover. Put that in Kiprotich's accent.
I think I'm Big Mitch. Larry Hoover.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Molondo.
Thank you for waking up with us this Tuesday morning. We now return to the Kampala Serena Hotel rooftop to Simon for the big story.
The 4th day of February 2000 and... Oh, is it February?
You're like
my clock has gone backward. And that's telling of what we're discussing this morning. It's been exactly 30 days since we started turning on your world in the morning, giving you the very best of morning TV like you've never seen it before. In the last 30 days, there's been tremendous crescendos, ups, and of course, huge downs, but we continue to make it in your life as a constant good. The usual suspects with me, Brian and Joel. And today, this morning, on the big story, we are looking at the big 3, the 30 days we spent on air, turning on your world, and of course, making it the best morning you can ever imagine. Coming to you always from the rooftop of Kampala Serena Hotel. Come rain, come shine. You recall very well, those of you who started with us on this program, that on the 2nd day of broadcast, it did rain, but we did not back off. We stayed at the rooftop. There are only a few occasions when we get down to the studio. That's when Simon is away and getting back to you via Skype. I would love, for the sake of chest stamping, and of course looking into ourselves, talk with these 2 gentlemen with whom we do this every morning to share with us their experience. You have no idea what morning TV is really about. Let's take you behind the scenes. Brian, what does it feel like waking up very early in the morning? I need our viewers to appreciate perhaps that you actually do this and do it for them.
Especially for a married man like
I
you.
ask the question, young man.
Oh, Pastor Mali, calm down. So this is Senpai.
Right.
I think, well, it's very challenging, obviously, but I have the experience of a show that I was doing earlier, because I used to wake up at the same time, slightly later than this.
When you say wake up at the same time, what exact time are you talking about?
4 o'clock, I'm up.
What time do you go to bed?
It depends.
What is the earliest you've gone to bed?
The earliest I've gone to bed is
7 a.m.
is 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. The latest you've been to bed?
1, 2.
1, 2. And that means you sleep for an average of about 4 hours and get ready to come and turn on people's world every morning.
Yes.
What has this done with regard to the relations in your house? Because, of course, nighttime is a time when people relate in more ways than one.
Yes. Well, you know, it comes down to, we all have busy schedules. My wife works in a bank. She'll come home late. I'll come home late because we are busy preparing briefs or researching for our viewers. So a couple of things have definitely changed. We have a son, and now our nanny, who is doing a fantastic job and really supporting us in this, has also adjusted to our schedules because you want to nail whatever your producer is telling you, but you also want to make sure that your marriage works.
Stay right over there. We'll return to you when it comes to the part of parenting your child who sees more of the nanny as opposed to their parent, but also how you ensure that your marriage stays intact because you spend more hours apart from your dear partner as opposed to being together. Brian, Joel. You have been on this show, tremendously sacrificing to be here, and that, of course, the viewers need to pat you on the back for. But has it taken a toll on you that you may wish to share with the viewers?
It certainly has. It certainly has. When you've got to wake up very early in the morning, and I especially go to bed at night, I love to watch Al Jazeera, CNN. I may not agree with everything they say, but you want to keep in the loop of what's going on around and so on. So I stay up late, have to get up very early. You know, many times during the day I am meditating. Seriously.
That's a simple way to say you are asleep much of the day.
There you go. I'm dreaming dreams and seeing visions. Yeah, it happens quite a bit. But
do you believe that this kind of lifestyle is sustainable, that you are able to do this in the long haul, 5 years, 10 years down the road and still remain with a sober mind?
Along the way, you've got to adjust. You cut it out and accept that this is what I'm going to be doing. And especially if you love it, you know, it's important that you do what you love and love what you do. That's a good way to get started. And because I love it, I am passionate about it. So yes, I might grumble a little bit, have to snooze my alarm every now and again, but eventually I get up because I love it. And
but even when you wake up grudgingly in the morning, you wake up and you somehow have to be awake on the set.
Suddenly we come here and people are thinking, hey, these guys, were they awake the whole night? I have no idea. It is tough,
I want to commend this guy, Simon. You know, I come on to this show about, I think, July. And I'm told, you know, we've been planning this thing for over a year. And this guy has done every demo.
For the entire year.
For an entire year.
And that brings me to, indeed, the bigger story that we're looking at this morning. How much do you sacrifice to ensure that you deliver at your best, your workplace? We've seen the case of customer service in Uganda, where you walk into a restaurant and this waitress is serving you like she's doing you a favor, forgetting that you are paying your money for that service that she's supposed to offer, which money is supposed to fend for her own living. I always ask people, why do you ever make it late to work? There is no single time when the 9 o'clock NTV bulletin, it's hit 9 o'clock, and an anchor arrives and says, sorry, for some unforeseen reason, Morris, or whichever anchor is unable to give you the news at 9 o'clock. They will be here at 9:30, so kindly stay put. We are always on time. This show starts every morning on the dot, 5:30. What makes us able to give it to you live at the exact time when you are unable to arrive in time for your office meetings or other engagements?
Sometimes they have a good excuse. They are watching this show.
Well, apart from watching this show, you don't watch this show at 2 o'clock when you have a meeting at 2:30 and you show up at 2:45. And that brings me to the work culture of Ugandans. And that's what we're here to discuss. We start off with a preamble of chest thumping and showing that we are wonderful at our work. So let's get down to the issue of customer service. Brian, what's the level of frustration you get when you make an appointment with somebody for 2 o'clock, and it's only at 2 o'clock that they set off from wherever they are, that you walk into a restaurant to be served, and a waiter or waitress treats you like they're doing you a favor, or you find them looking extremely sad and not able to carry out their duties. What is this?
And you see, for a long time, I think I was a victim of timekeeping. Then I got into a workplace where I had to be on time. Schedules were planned not just a week ahead, but a month ahead. So people come, 8 o'clock is 7:59:59. Not 8:01. So when I got into that culture, and I spent 5 years in this culture, serving people on time.
So it's not that you are hardwired from your education, for example, to always honor appointments, but you had to learn on the job. The test of the pudding has come to you
that I had to learn, because even TV kind of fashioned that. You know, you're here talking, you're telling people, coming up is this, the big story, we're doing this person, and your producer is like, 1 minute to go. Those are simple disciplines, yeah? The moment the second thing goes into the second minute, she's telling you, I'm getting you off TV.
Joel,
don't back us.
There is an issue of workmanship in this country, and for the most part we've been here waxing lyrical and saying there is unemployment in Uganda, and yet we continue to see foreigners coming into Uganda and taking on serious jobs that possibly Ugandans would also do. For example, the hospitality industry has been taken over by other nationalities as opposed to Ugandans, because those other nationals know what it means to keep time, to be courteous and all that. What is the missing link between Ugandans and a proper workmanship?
You know, there's a report sometime back, which many Ugandans have, kept on lambasting. It did say that one Kenyan does work that is done by 6 Ugandans. And many people thought, no, that's not possible and that kind of thing. But I'll tell you, when you go to Kenya, you see the way these guys operate. They move in the rain. They are serious business. You know, the other day during Chogam, we had to import them here to lay beds for our guests, and we're thinking, are there no Ugandans here? But this is because many times we are very sloppy the way we do things. You talk about time, for example. People keep the appointment and not the time. And that is wrong. You know, we know about East African Standard Time, and some people think that is East African stretchable time. I'll tell you, somebody told me if you don't keep time, you do not respect people, and that is something we need to do away with in this country, because at the end of the day, I mean, you talk about going to places and somebody looks at you and they're thinking your presence is good, but your absence is better. And I'm thinking, do not be foolish. I have come here to patronize your restaurant or whatever the case might be. Treat me nicely, because I would want to come back, but they don't see it, and that's unfortunate.
And then for the most part, you grapple about there not being jobs. The workmanship of being able to deliver to the satisfaction of your clients is a hallmark of what kind of worker you are. I have always argued people whom I manage to interface with that at every top of the hour you tune onto a radio, your favorite radio, to listen to the news, and bang, the news will be there on time. While the news is there on time.
People use the radio as a clock.
Absolutely. So why are you unable to meet your appointments? Because when you're 10 minutes, 30 minutes, or 40 minutes late for your first appointment in the morning, there's a chance that you'll have a domino effect across to entire appointments of the whole day. How much are you able to attain if you start off from a disorganized setting? And now we'll start from our home turf. Brian, if your show starts at 7 o'clock and you show up here at 6:50, disorganized, unable to have looked at the newspapers and the like, how are you able to cope with the challenge that will befall you in 10 minutes?
I think, one, we are very disrespectful. We're disrespectful not just of the people that we make appointments with, but also of ourselves. Because for you to come late, you are literally disorganizing your own day.
Yeah, but of course there are many reasons as why we come late. There's tremendous traffic jam in Kampala.
Yeah, right.
It could rain. Sometimes our children are late, wake up sick. So there are all these impediments as why we never wake up early.
Even in the morning when I'm coming to work, at 5:30, someone is cruising with the kids in the back of the car. Why are you cruising at 5:30 a.m.? Why?
Tell us.
You know, at the end of the day, you talk about impediments that do come. We are human, and none of us is ubiquitous. I can't be here and there at the same time, you know. So once in a while it can happen.
We Catholics believe Padre Pio was.
There you go. However good a timekeeper you might be, and I might be here talking about all this, and people think, are you the best of timekeepers? No, I'm not, and many times I will get it wrong, yeah? But you see, when you plan, and you see, you talk about impediments. Yesterday, for example, there was a truck somewhere along the way, and many people had to make detours and so on. Sometimes this does happen, and one might say plan better. But you see, I tell people, if you have made an appointment, yesterday I was meeting a young friend of mine, and he came in late. And I told him, you see, if you're coming late, you communicate. Let me know that I'm going to come 30 minutes later, and that's okay. It's just a good discipline.
Indeed, and that's gonna bring us back. You know, the interpersonal relations that are a hallmark of Ugandans. Indeed, we come late, but for the most part, we don't seem to understand that coming late is actually insulting or even is abhorrent. How many times do you get people calling you and say, I'm afraid, Joel, I'll be 10 minutes late? Or who will tell you, I'll be there in 10, and 10 is actually 10 minutes?
And these are the kind of people we are looking forward to. You know, at the end of the day, you might not be able to make it. Because you're human, something might come up and you're not able to make it that exact time. But you communicate, and I'll be like, wow, this is an awesome
I will now give it a political twinge to it. Now, many times we have always been here clamoring and saying, we are the leaders of tomorrow, the young people, the elites need to take the reins of power in this country. How are we able to make wonderful leaders and move this country forward when we are unable to observe even the smallest of tenets like personal discipline of being early and of being organized? This is the hallmark of old politicians, and this is without offense to the current leader of politicians. We know that when you have invited, say, the president of officiate over a function, and the function is at 10 o'clock, you'll be lucky if he shows up at 3 p.m.
Right.
So how are we able to make a difference to show that we are able to manage our time better and we are known for that? People who keep time in Uganda are known. Professor Apollo Nsibambi, and who else? Perhaps nobody else. So, clearly...
I mean, Mama Babas does try a couple of times, but you see, politicians think it is a cool thing, you know, to get in late when everybody has settled down and then they give a standing ovation.
It has to have this...
This big aura of the guys that has arrived, and, you know, they come in with all this grandeur. I don't think it is right. Of course, sometimes they, you know, exculpate it to say that security and so on. If they say he's coming in at 10, he can't come in at that time.
Drop the politicians. Let's talk about we young people. If we are unable to have that personal discipline, how are we able, therefore, to stand and have the moral authority to claim to want to take the reins of power?
And this is where it starts, by the way, you know, because those guys who are failing to keep time, it has not just happened all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It is a discipline that you determine that I am going to do, ensure that I keep time, you know. And then you begin to learn. And it's something that you can learn. I have not always been a good timekeeper, and I can't even say that I have arrived yet. But I keep trying, and God is helping me to keep improving. And we all need to keep trying. We need to ensure that we respect people, because if I've made an appointment with you, for starters, I should be able to respect you and know that if I've made an appointment with this guy for this time, I should be there. Otherwise, it's disrespectful. If I can't be there, can I communicate?
It's
and
totally
know
disrespectful.
The issue of time on the side, customer service. For the most part, all of us have different mornings. We could wake up from the wrong sides of our bed and we have our mood swings. We could have been hurt along the way. We could have been shouted at by a guard searching us before we get in here. But
and some such bad thing, like I told you.
Yeah. But to our viewers, we need to keep that smile. We need to keep that courtesy. We must keep that energy. That's what they want to watch in the morning as they wake up. But what happens when you walk into a restaurant and you find this waiter, like really she was dragged out of wherever to come and do a job here? What's wrong with Ugandan customer service?
I think it's one... Money has clouded everything that we do. You know that when you get to work, it's about 5 o'clock, I'm out of this place. So whatever happens...
At 4:30, you're already in exit mode.
You switch off. And I'll tell you, I'm not a morning person. I'm very grumpy in the morning, and even when I'm being driven to work, I'm like,
But when you get here,
takes longer
when you get here, you perform as expected.
It is required of me to, one, be very smart, be alert. And I have to do it because I'm not just doing it for myself. I'm doing it for the people.
Let the viewers judge whether you're smart or alert.
I think I am.
Joel, for the most part, before we close down this thing, we get young people walking into establishments and practically begging for jobs. In fact, I have seen situations where someone walks up to you and says, me, even if you don't pay me anything, just allow me to be part of this organization. And they walk in there with a lot of promise and drive. But when they get in there and get comfortable, then they begin to rescind on what they felt should have been the way to perform their duties. What makes Ugandans desperately look for jobs, and when they get them, they try to treat the jobs like they are, one of such things? Is it human nature, or it's simply the absence of proper workmanship, or the absence of cracking the whip by owners of businesses, for example?
I think it's a little bit of everything. You talk about customer care, and in this country we tend to have a lot. Instead of customer care, we have customers care, which is very unfortunate.
Customers care.
Customers care. I walked into an Indian shop the other day, and I found this person. They were busy grilling their stuff, and when I walked in, this person looked at me and smiled. "Hello, boss. How can I help you?" And I was thinking, "Hey, this guy is a hypocrite." But you see, these guys have mastered the art of treating customers nicely, clients nicely, for that matter. You talk about young people, and at the end of the day, that's why many people look at young people as a bunch of preposterous people who do not know what they want. And I'll tell you, even though we want to give young people opportunities, I think we need to stand up and be counted as young people.
It's
we
very
need
scary to
be able to deliver.
trust. Yes.
You know, which is unfortunate. And I'll tell you, there's many young people that are up for it that can deliver. So at the end of the day, you've got to deliver if people are going to trust you. You know, no one is going to avail things on a silver platter like we keep hearing.
You must
saying,
be astute,
give us
you must be
opportunities. You know, let the youth, the old people retire and we take up these positions. I'll tell you, when you're still a very lousy, lackluster lot, that's not going to happen. We need to stand up and be counted.
Well, like they say, one word to a wise man is enough. This has been 1,000 words to you.
So
I'm sure it's more than just enough. Let's take a short one. When we return, it's Simon Says on this issue. Well, there we go. Simon Says this morning. While you went through school, the bell always went off at the time it went off, and you were required to be in the right place at the right time. For the most part, many of us spent more than 16 years in training in schools. What becomes of us when we get out of school and are simply unable to adhere to the tenets of time? What happens to us when we are told to behave nicely at our workplaces and we treat our workplaces like we are doing them a favor, yet we always adhere to school rules and we are always doing the right thing for the fear of expulsion? There must be a proper nexus between the you that was during training and the you that is post-training, because what you were doing training is supposed to shape who you are in the future. Like I've always argued, there is no single time you tune into your TV at 9 o'clock and the news is not there. For those of you who watch international channels, you know that every top of the hour, there is news there and you never find a failure, no matter the circumstances. So if we in the media are able to give it to you right on time, why aren't you, wherever you are, able to do it right on time and do it rightly? Wherever today takes you, I know that you will make a difference in people's lives and your own life by doing the right thing at the right time for you to be able to be in the right place that you always have wanted to be, now and in the future. Have a wonderful morning. Morning at NTV continues.
What's that?
That document.
Oh, that. Just some business.
I came to apologize. I have no right to interfere in your lives.
I've eliminated the only evidence that links me to Ivan Chinawa's death.
But you didn't have to kill another person.
It's not like I've got anything to hide, Nene. Just go ahead.
Victoria, how is it like to work for Miles Vilagazi?
Blood seemed to matter not.
Blood?
Yeah, blood.
I'm responsible for your father's death.
On the next episode of La Patrona.
The lizard to guard all exits in and out of town, you know, including ones to the airport.
They won't find him, though. It's true what Annabelle said. He wants to keep the police busy because I'm sure they're about to strike, but I just don't know where.
You got it.
Maybe he tried to steal something from someone and they just...
If he's already dead, then look for him underneath the ground, okay? And find me his bones, because I want nobody who made a fool of me getting away alive. What have you heard from the other ones, Susan?
If you were so loyal to my uncle, and you wish to continue to be the Goldsteins' lawyer, I'll ask that you help me claim my inheritance without any noise or publicity. I've got to save myself and serve justice.
La Patrona. On the next episode of
Say that Kishenko could upset Georgia, but you can. Balrak cope with the low kicks.
Ashwin Barak and Daniel Geeta are having to kick off the event of edition 42. Daniel Geeta, who is not someone who you can take lightly.
I want to show something special because I'm something special.
I like it when people watching me, so I will be enjoying myself.
Yo!
Aro, give me 5 stress, 3 gonorrhea.
Kale muli wano, you think you've brought car passers. Omwana yenna asobola ogamba super deep. Si myaka gyaffe.
I'm like, I like my swag too. So what about it? Then she was like, I also like your accent. That village accent. Now.
Okay, why didn't you when you got political tayakana no muzanga nakajawa.
Kati ne kambuuza, mukabete why are you crying? Nkagamba abasajja engeri gye bafulumiza mu lukwago.
I think I'm Big Mitch. Larry Hoover. Put that in Kiprotich's accent.
I think I'm Big Mitch. Rare Hoover.
A wife who you got through the office will be very insecure about you working in another place.
Always hunt up, don't hunt down.
You mean what? Go after your superior?
How dare you suggest that when a woman is aggressed against, we should look at the person who's been aggressed against?
Let the couple be. Let them sort out their issues. When they need you, then you come in.
Prostitution is being given a new brand.
All I know is that I connect people.
Let's not choose to open our zips and do whatever our urge is, because I don't think that an urge is stronger than your will to say no.
People attach a lot of questions, shame to HIV.
I do not believe that when you wear a short dress, you should be around.
Marrying a wife is like having assured sex.
Anytime you come, you must have.
Yes. You raise a population that has no clue how to be men.
Can you bring out a quality family?
I don't get married for my family.
Men, every Wednesday only on NTV. Gabriela is trapped in a collapsing mine and she is rescued by Alejandro, and underneath the rubble, they fell in love.
Beautiful and iron-willed.
I told you 1,000 times not to put your hands on me! Your mom working in a mine is nothing for you to be ashamed of. In fact, you should be very proud of it, honey.
But her destiny will be marked. Alejandro's ambitious mother becomes her worst enemy.
She was cast into prison, and all that she was left with was her memories of her son and the woman. Now she has to forge a way to revenge on the other side.
Every idea we have begins with you. The way you connect.
Good morning.
How you browse. How you share. And how you interact with the world around you.
Your relationship with your God is the most important thing.
Have a company of people who have got a similar mindset.
How do you want people to think, feel, and act after your talk? In other words, what's your objective?
You inspire everything. Because in the end, innovation doesn't really matter unless it does something that really matters to you. And we are HTC.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
It's exactly 8 o'clock right here at the Kampala Serena rooftop, and definitely we want you to get up out of bed, go to work. If you have to keep an appointment, you must be there on time. That's what we're reflecting on the big story. And today, Morning at NTV makes 1 month and a day. And we'll celebrate this very well. Yesterday I promised if we make 2,000 followers on Twitter and 30,000 people that like the page on Facebook, we'll go and eat some cake. Eh? Deal or not deal? Good. So invite your friends to like our page. We're about 8,300 now on Facebook and on Twitter. To get Zako, but we shall get there. One day an egg will walk. Quickly into your messages on Twitter. And at Kasik John says, I think if we don't learn to give 100% to everything, then you may be out. That was reacting to the big story And at Kalexka, I'm saying, thanks for playing a big part in my savings. You're the best I have ever had, and I will always be with you. Well, thank you so much for loving this show. LC Muha is still testing his HTC. Thank you so much. And of course, Kawe is up. We also have another message coming in from Charles Sendagire, who says, this is the best show ever. I want to wake up every day to Kasiate assassinating whatever guest is there. Thank you so much. And of course, if you watch the clip that is making rounds on YouTube, Simon Kasiate, Pastor Malan Sempa, going at it as far as the Anti-Homosexuality Act is concerned, and whether you agree or not, and go check it out. Just type Morning at NTV, and you'll be able to get that clip. And of course, we want to encourage you. Our forums are open. Morning at NTV is our Facebook page. Like it. At Morning at NTV is our Twitter handle. My handle is at MBGold2. You can tag me in those posts, but also send the SMS to 6565. Coming up, your traffic report. Good morning. And of course, it's exactly 2 minutes after 8 o'clock. Using my HTC One Max, I am able to get pictures of you that you have sent. You can also stream on live, you know, on the internet, youtube.com/NTV Uganda, but also become a traffic reporter and WhatsApp whatever picture that you've taken to 0-716-730. That number is on your screen right now. That is 0-716-730, and you can tell us wherever you are. Isaac has sent us a picture of Bukoto, how it was about 10 minutes ago. That is Bukoto. Thank you so much, Isaac. We also have a live feed coming in from Chintu Road right now. If you can see Chintu Road, very steady. Few cars, border there. Macarena already waiting for corporates. Some of you corporates say that you don't eat Manya Kabalagala. Macarena has made that his permanent stage and is already set up. So if you're making your way to Parliament or the President's office, or you want to cross via Nakumat or De Winton, this is a place to pass. It's very clear, and traffic officers are doing a tremendous job. Now, of course, continue to send in those pictures. We got a picture yesterday, came in a little late from Maanda Road. Do not stop. Later, yesterday, if you didn't know, was National Anthem Day. We got interesting WhatsApp audio messages from you. We'll be sampling them before the end of the show. But standing by at the NTV studios is Mabel Kebirunji with your birthday wishes and your Facebook messages. Good morning.
Happy birthday to you.
Very good morning to you all this Tuesday morning, and as usual, time for us to celebrate with you if you were born this day. Today we celebrate with Vanessa, who studies at Mbarara University of Science and Technology. Vanessa, happy birthday. And David Sembatia, who works right here as an agency accounts manager at NTV. Happy birthday to you too, David. And also we have Lilian Mukasa. Happy birthday to you, Lilian. And Chiwanuka Fashir, who is from around here in Kampala. Happy birthday to you too. Now, as we move on to see your messages on Facebook, you can see a picture there of Simon looking as serious as he can be with the big story. Some of the comments coming in, Isaac says, people go to work late these days because they watch the morning show at NTV. So guys, you're the ones, morning at NTV staff, to blame. Jonix Paul says, I really appreciate your efforts because it's not an easy task. We have Katende here saying, I like your review. Thank you. You guys are the best. Please keep it up. And just to update you that we now have 8,381 likes on our Facebook page. So if you haven't yet liked our Facebook page, I do not know what you're waiting for. To some of your messages now, Joshua says, Joshua Gift here says, good morning, you guys, the show is bright. We have Aine Mukama Julius who says, thanks for talking about the time factor. People should follow Brian's example, and indeed Brian was telling us how he's now very disciplined with timekeeping. Shaban says, I'm so fresh this morning, like morning at NTV. Indeed, we are fresh. We like to deliver it fresh. Prince Ntare says, people, please help me because I'm going mad of NTV morning show. I love your show, friends. Well, Ntare, tell your friends about it and let them like the page as well. Caroline says, wow, it's been amazing, and the good stuff about the show is because it's dynamic. I mean, it entails almost everything: style, politics, food, I mean everything. She's reminding me of our wonderful Valentine's special that we had. Joseph Rabose is saying happy 30 years birthday. Junior says, you guys are so great. Naye mumpeku chai. I also don't have chai here in the studio, but hopefully, yeah, we'll be able to join you one day, or you'll join us as we continue to celebrate. Victor saying morning is his favorite show, and some of you trying to answer the questions in order to win the cup. Yes, at Kunda Peter here saying, I'm getting addicted to morning at NTV. We shall now return to the Kampala Serena Hotel rooftop to the HTC moment with Brian.
Every idea we have begins with you. The way you connect, how you browse, how you share, and how you interact with the world around you. Down to the last detail, you inspire everything. Because in the end, innovation doesn't really matter unless it does something that really matters to you. And we are HTC.
And it's 8 minutes after 8, coming to you live from the Kampala Serena Hotel. And this morning, it's the HTC moment. You know that everyday life, proudly powered by HTC, quietly brilliant. And they have a whole assortment of HTC models. You can head over to the HTC hub at Forest Mall and grab one of those phones. And on the show, we've been giving out phones every week. We gave out a phone to Elsie Muha, another student from UCU, but also people, there's a guy that came in from Ruwero and another one from Mbale. And today, Martin is here to also draw live on the show, because some of you have been saying, how do you determine the winners of the phones? You're giving out the phones to your own people. Corruption, corruption. So we're like, no, we want to do corruption this time. Martin, who is a business manager, direct sales at NTV, is here to help us draw this morning. Martin, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
How's your morning?
Ah, well, good.
You look like a real HTC man.
Really? Thank you.
And Martin, there's over 500 entries here.
Yes.
People who have participated. Okay. And it's a draw. Please, pick out any three. Yeah, Martin,
draw one at a time?
Eyes.
One at a time.
Someone is saying, what if we put only three?
Okay.
All right.
The lucky number is 07028444555. I repeat.
Yes.
07028444555.
All right. That's our first winner. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, you can see this is how we get those numbers. If you can get a close up here. This is the winner, the first winner of the HTC Desire 300. All right. Wow, there's over 500 of these. Martin, close your eyes, because you may have brought your own paper.
No, let me look away.
And you put it inside.
Okay, here we go. The next lucky winner is 0772 646 721.
All right.
Repeat, 0772 646 721.
This number almost similar to my mother's. I thought she had. All right, this is the other number. If we can get another close-up. This is the second winner of the HTC this week, 0772-646721. And we'll be giving you a call very shortly and tell you how you can pick your gift. All right. Out of 500 entries,
here we go.
Only 3, and this is our last entry.
Our next lucky winner is number 0775 385590. I repeat, 0775 385590.
90. All right. This is the number, ladies and gentlemen. This is the number. If we can get that close up of the third winner of the HTC model. Thank you. All right. HTC Desire 300, you are winners. For more models, of course, you can go check out the HTC Hub at the Forest Mall. And some people are saying, I hear they are, okay, I just put this thing just to hold a bit. But there are so many, can you get a close-up? I bend it.
That was disaster.
Okay. White balance. Carry, white balance. Carry. All right, let's do this. I'm holding here an HTC One Max, one of the most brilliant phones, actually voted the best mobile phone, the best smartphone at the World Mobile Conference last week. And yesterday, I tried it as a remote control for my TV.
Yes.
And it worked.
Definitely.
So no one watches TV at my home unless I'm there. So I work with the remote control here. And it works, I have an LG TV. You can use it on Samsung, Hisense, Sony. It has all the models. Here, HTC One Max, please use it. This is what we call a blink feed. And here you get live updates. The moment Facebook bought WhatsApp, some of us got to know about this like 30 seconds later. The blink feed is one of those things that you can do with the HTC One Max. Martin, what is ahead there for us? Are we expecting more models? We've seen the HTC Desire 300 this week. Are you going to give us other better models?
Well, according to the provider, the distributor, there's a lot of competition going on. And so every time, we should just be prepared to accept another model coming into the market anytime.
Right.
So right now, at least HTC is quite giving other brands for a good run for their money. And I personally had to go and acquire one for myself.
Yeah, I was there when you were buying it.
So it's really a very interesting phone, and it's very portable, light, very convenient to handle. It's not bulky, but it has fast speeds.
Yes.
Most of them now are on 4G, light, and that's very good speeds. You don't have to waste time downloading.
So guess what? I put on, this mobile data, and I am going on doing my thing, receiving my WhatsApps, and then the thing just tells me you've used up your internet. And I'm like, why? What is going on? And I had activated 4G. So the internet was quite fast and downloading everything that I don't even, kind of sanctioned. So this is 4G enabled, but there are also options where you can switch it from 4G to 3G or to 2G. So this is very good. This is very good stuff. Grab an HTC, and of course, in a couple of minutes, I'll return with Everyday Life. Earlier, we were talking about how you can position yourself not just at your work, but also get ready to be competitive. How do you get competitive? You've been searching for a job for many years, gone to countless job interviews, but failed. What mistakes have you been making? Coming up on Everyday Life. Good morning.
Every idea we have begins with you. The way you connect, how you browse, how you share, and how you interact with the world around you. Down to the last detail, you inspire everything. Because in the end, innovation doesn't really matter unless it does something that really matters to you. And we are HTC.
to you by...
And we are HTC.
It's definitely interesting to see what's going on here on the floor of the Serena rooftop. Too much action, and I want to say my producers working around the clock to make sure that you get the best quality here. Now, time check right now is only 16 minutes after 8 o'clock, and some of you have been asking what are the questions for this week. Of course, you remember that we'll draw again next week on Tuesday, but keep sending the most correct, the most accurate answers have a chance to get into a draw and winning the HTC Desire 300. This week's question: what is the unique function on the camera of the HTC One Max? I told you about that on Monday and actually Friday last week. What is the unique function on the camera of the HTC One Max? Question number 2, how many months is Morning at NTV making? Question number 3, give any 4 topics discussed during the big story last week. And the last question, where is the HTC hub located? And send those answers in the correct order to 6565. Don't forget to also attach your name. I will say that one more time. What is the unique function of the camera on the HTC One Max? Question number 2, how many months is Morning at NTV making? And question number 3, give any 4 topics discussed during the big story last week. And the last question, where's the HTC hub located? Good luck, and we'll see you next week if you are a winner. Today, we are going to look at some of the mistakes that we do during job interviews. Some people I've met will tell me, I've been moving from office to office, from job interview to job interview, but no luck. And sometimes to identify someone who has been moving from job interview to job interview is the brown envelope. Whenever you see them, that envelope has their CV and, of course, the academic papers. Today, we are with a gentleman who has worked most of his life interviewing Ugandans for jobs, and is going to share with us his experience on what we do and how you can secure probably being shortlisted when you apply for that job. But before we get into that, take a look at his profile. There you go, Larry Home, who is the CEO, MD, yes, the brains behind PPG, People Performance Group. The first time I had People Performance Group, I thought it was an arts place where people dance.
Many people have thought that, yes.
Yeah.
People Performance. Are you a dancing group? But I assure you, I'm not a dancer. So, yes.
How did you come to Uganda? I've had different versions of your story, but how did you get to Uganda?
Well, I was backpacking back in 2000, and I came to this country, and I thought it was a beautiful place, and I saw a lot of opportunities out here.
Yeah.
A lot of construction was going on, a lot of positivism in the society, and I thought, why not give it a shot? So I came back to Denmark after my traveling, and I thought about it for a few years, and then I took the chance. I quit my job, sold my apartment, and came here.
Wow, that's a very huge risk.
It was. It was.
It was a very huge risk. And then years later, you start People Performance Group.
Yes.
What exactly do you do at PPG?
We are a human resource consultancy firm. So we do HR consulting, which is mainly recruitment. We do outsourcing of staff, temporary or more permanent. And we have a job site called karzijobs.com.
Okay.
And we do training in how to write a CV or team building or HR for non-HR managers.
All right.
So these are some of the services that we do, but all within human resources.
Right. You help companies hire
Ugandans.
And that's where the problem is. You know, you'll find people, they'll look at, the papers are always just listing these different job opportunities, and then the interview is set. After the interview, the guy tells you, I was never shortlisted.
Yes.
What do we do wrong? Where do we... Because for me, a job interview is, for me, an assurance that I've got the job. As long as I've been called, that is already an assurance.
Yeah, first of all, don't forget there's a lot of talent in Uganda, and the competition is stiff. And we usually only contact the people who get shortlisted.
Yeah.
And this is where the competition actually starts, with your CV and your cover letter. And we get many people who actually just copy and paste. So sometimes they're applying for a job with NTV, although we had advertised the job for Danita.
Really?
Yes. So first advice is proofread your cover letter. Make sure that you are applying for the proper job. And then other mistakes are that people often copy their job descriptions. And usually a job description is about 1.5 pages. They have 20 years experience in 10 different jobs. So that becomes a CV of 20 pages, which is way too long. A modern CV should not be more than 2 to 4 pages.
Doesn't it take away, because I want to imagine that a longer CV helps convince the employer that this guy has what it takes.
Quite the opposite, actually. It shows me that you cannot formulate yourself in a proper way. It shows me that you cannot get to the point. It shows me that you don't know how to pull out the essentials from your career. What I'm interested in looking at is not your job description. I'm looking at what have you achieved, what has made you unique in that position that you had. Write a few things of what you've actually done, but measure it up against the job advert. What's important? If you have experience as an accountant and you have worked with Sage Pastel, say that, but leave out all the rest. Yeah? And then come to your achievements. Did you introduce a new system?
Product, right.
Or did you clean up your controls? What did you do that made you special in that position?
Right.
That's what I'm looking for.
Because I think I was trying to look up different CVs and said the European Union has a different format. And so when I looked at that, these guys have written everything, and I want to borrow what they've done. For example, I'll say in 2005, I worked here.
Yes.
Not related to the job that I'm applying for, but it kind of makes me think that that will add some meat to...
It does, and I want to see your whole career in your CV, but I don't necessarily need your whole job description for something you did back in 1995. I just want to see, where did you work, what was your job, can I see a progression throughout your career, or have you stagnated at a certain point?
Right.
So that's why I want to see the history, and if there's a gap in your CV, I will ask you about that gap. And some people, they are scared of saying, well, actually, I was unemployed during that period. They shouldn't be scared of that. It's a very natural thing. I've been unemployed many times.
Right.
I've also been fired many times. It's nothing to be ashamed of.
I can't write on my CV, Larry, that I've been fired.
No, you shouldn't. Of
You'll ask me why, and then...
Yeah, that can be a very legitimate reason. But it's not something you need to hide, because we will find out anyway. Right. As a professional recruiter, we will find out if you're lying to us. So please don't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so we get the CV wrong, first of all. What next?
What next? When you prepare for the interview, make sure that you know the job you're being recruited for or interviewed for. Make sure that you know the company that you're being interviewed for. Many people mistake us as the one who's going to recruit you. So they say, I would love a job with People Performance Group, although we're recruiting for NTV.
Right.
Yeah? And that shows me that you haven't understood your advert, the advert that we have posted.
Yes.
So make sure that you know the company that you're being interviewed for, and you know the position that you're being interviewed for. And then prepare. What would you, if you were the one on the other side of the table, what would you be asking me about? And prepare those questions.
Right.
And if there's an abbreviation in the advert, make sure you get to know what it stands for. Like for instance, if it says it is a key thing that you know about the Paris Declaration, and I come for the interview, an obvious question would be, can you please tell me what are the contents of the Paris Declaration? And people start going like, the which? And they
Say
don't
that
know.
again?
Yeah. And that just shows me that they're unprepared.
Yes.
So prepare. Then when you get to the interview, I heard you before talking about being on time. That's very essential for job interviews. But be there 5 minutes early, not an hour early. We have people who
want
come
to impress.
Yes, they come hours early, and that actually disturbs us. So be there just a few minutes before you're scheduled.
Right.
And make sure that you know where the office is that you're being interviewed for. Many people, they call us and say, oh, by the way, I'm lost. I don't know where your office is. And I think, why didn't you find out yesterday?
Yeah, yeah.
Make a test run or go to Google Earth. There are many ways of finding out how to find the office. So be there a little early. And then when you get there, your job interview starts when you're leaving your house.
Say that again.
Your job interview starts when you're leaving the house. Make sure that you're friendly to people. Make sure that you psych yourself for the interview. You smile at people, you're friendlier. It will reflect on how you perform at the interview. We have had candidates who came grudgy at the gate, abusing our chamber boy, then came to the reception and was extremely arrogant. And then they came to my office, not knowing that I had had a full report from the chamber boy and the receptionist, and they were super humble.
Wow!
Humble and very polite and very fake. So your job interview starts all the way from home. You don't know who you're going to meet on the way.
That is, so between the gate and your office, people are telling you,
yes,
maybe won't work. Maybe won't. And that for you is already telling of the inability of the person to...
It tells me that they might have a different side than what they're showing.
Okay.
And I will challenge them on that. And don't assume that we haven't interviewed before. I've interviewed probably 5,000 Ugandans over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I've seen most of the things.
Right.
Yes.
Larry, during the interview.
Yes.
And in a couple of minutes, we'll also talk about the experience question, which kind of bothers me a lot. But what goes wrong during the interview? Do the interviewers, do you, for lack of a better word, intimidate us? Because you get into the room and you're all tough. None of you is smiling. You know, you're always asking the hard questions. You're not making it easy. For me, the guy seeking for the job, you know, when I get in, I'm always afraid.
Yeah. Well, we do things a little differently at the People Performance Group.
Okay.
You'll meet 1 to 2 people. And we do smile and we do try to make you feel at home. In general, many interviews are panel interviews. And there it seems like it's more about intimidation than about getting all the information out of the candidate as you can possibly get.
Right.
What happens with panel interviews is that in many cases you get the people who can talk and who can charm a panel rather than the ones who can actually do the job. So here's a lesson for the panelists, for the recruiters. But during our interviews, we always try to make sure that the candidates are relaxed. And one common question that we ask at the beginning is, please tell us about yourself. This is your chance to tell us about how good you are on something that you are familiar with, which is yourself. But the whole point of that is not to let us know your whole life story and talk about half an hour. It's about giving a brief about what you have achieved and why you think that you're good for this job. Just to make sure that you're calmed down.
Right.
Yes.
A lot of times I've found interviewers to, it's like they are seeking to bring out the bad, you know, out of you who is there for the interview. And my thought would be, why don't you try and concentrate on my strength, not my weaknesses? And I find that all the time. You know, I've also done a couple of interviews, and my fellow panelists are just looking for a way to piss off this guy instead of making the guy, you know, bring out his strengths, which the company will benefit from, not his weaknesses.
I agree. But we have to get both sides of the story. I want to know your strengths, but I also want to know your weaknesses. And when I ask you about what are your development areas, I'm not looking for your weaknesses. I'm looking to see if you are aware of your weaknesses. Because that's the first step to improvement. That is that you are aware. So my follow-up question on what are your weaknesses is, so how are you handling it? What are you doing to improve on yourself? And that's where I get to see if it's a mature person I sit in front of. And don't get me wrong, a 50-year-old can be very immature when it comes to mental development.
Yeah.
So that's what we're looking for. We do try to find your weaknesses, and I can also tell you a little secret from my interviews. That is, the better you are, the tougher I get.
Oh.
I want to see what you're made of.
Do you see that, you know, the moment the guy walks in, you just know, this guy might be good. Or his first statement is...
I try not to let that bias me. It is very hard not to, because you make the impression within 3 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's really important that you look your best and you smile and you're in a good mood. But from that, I try to, as a professional recruiter, to get beyond the surface. We have something we call NATO guys. They are no action, talk only. Those are the ones who can charm. Those are the ones who can talk. But I want to see what they're made of. So I dig deeper. My consultants dig deeper, asking for behavioral questions. What have you done? There's a big difference in saying, I want to lose weight, and saying, I have lost weight. It's the same with job interviews. I want to see what you have actually done, not what you would like to be able to do.
Oh.
Yes.
So that helps a lot. And that's where the question of, and someone on Facebook, Favahim Jr. saying, Larry, does job experience matter in every CV format? And you've talked about, you know, you want to know what I've done, not what I hope to do.
Yes. Of course, if you are a straight person, I want to see what you have done in terms of hobbies, in terms of interests, in terms of the person. I want to get an impression of the person behind the CV. So don't just copy and paste from the internet. Write something honest about yourself, make a personal profile where you explain about your strengths and weaknesses, but you can color it a bit. I don't want you to not give yourself the job. Yes, be honest.
How can you ask for difficult qualifications like 10 years experience since I have just finished universities?
Well, maybe you are applying for the wrong jobs.
And I guess that's the point also. Do we get excited when we see this job description? We're like, I can do this, I can do this.
For every single job we post, approximately 40% are straight out of school with no experience, or students who are still at school, and they are applying for jobs that require managerial skills. And that's a no-go. Don't waste your time, don't waste our time, because we just put you aside. I usually screen CV, and if you haven't finished your school yet, and we're looking for 5 years experience, there's no chance you will be invited for interviews.
Right. So stop applying for the wrong jobs, and maybe you could get lucky. Larry Holm from People Performance Group this morning with us on what you can do to make sure you get ready for that job interview. And of course, there are a couple of pointers that I read. Practice greeting your interviewer. You know, get in there and say, good morning, nice to see you, my name is Brian. And I've always been told eye contact is very important. As the interviewee, you also intimidate your interviewer when you do that. And they know that, you know, you might have something. Practice your answers to the most common interview questions. And I know a friend who, I think he does this, you know, in his relationships. If he wants to break up with a girl, he will practice the questions. He'll say, but honey, I thought we were doing well. And then he practices himself answering, yeah, baby, I know we're doing well, but, you know, it just couldn't work. And he does that for his relationships and his when he's doing for job interviews, and it helps him a lot. Do that too. Talk to the mirror and practice how you will answer those questions. And you talked about the other thing, it starts at home. Yes. When I'm going for a job interview, I smile from the moment I leave my home. Yeah. It's a good attitude. It helps you a lot. And of course, many of us don't do this, but you need to research about the company you're going to work for in case you are going to get that job. Get there and show the knowledge about the different products that they have. I think it helps communicate
absolutely
something.
The more you know about a company, the better you're armed for the interview.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Larry Home, we'll definitely get you another time on how to write a proper CV.
Yes.
Because I know people who tell me, can you help draft my CV?
Yes.
And I'm like, that's something that...
We can talk about that.
Yeah.
In the meantime, good luck with your job hunt.
Larry Home from People Performance Group. Go to their website, ppg.co.ug, and you can get a couple of jobs there. Maybe you'll meet him and tell him, I watched you on Morning at NTV and I'm here to face you. And standing by is Isma Chigongo. Good morning, Isma.
Good morning. Do you remember that Arsenal wanted to pay £40 million and £1 for Luis Suarez? Actually, the Liverpool owner did admit, so we'll be talking about that when we get back to sport. And also, there is Moses Kipsiro as the best model prospect when Uganda against the Africa Cross Country Championship. Plus, the cranes are gathering in Zambia. Who is there and who isn't? There is no reason why you should walk away from Morning at NTV.
Thank you so much, Isma. I'll be joining him and Mabel in a couple of minutes for the latest in the world of sport. Keep your comments and questions coming. And of course, we'll tell Larry to head over to our Facebook page to answer your questions. I hope some of you have got Rukshana's comments also on child adoption. And we want to help you make sure that you wake up to something awesome, because it shapes the kind of day you're going to have. Everyday Life powered by HTC, quietly brilliant. Stay with us. Good morning.
Everyday Life was brought to you by...
And we are HTC.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
On the next episode of Destiny River.
Ah, and he rides so well.
You look alike. He's taken your posture.
She's dead.
Our land is good and fertile. We could build a house. We could...
What was that? House? Did you say a house?
Don't think I'm scared of this hulking beast.
Destiny River.
She was molested when she was 6 by someone she trusted.
The doctors finally walked into the door. They basically were telling me that she had a 5% chance of living.
I couldn't understand how somebody that tells you they loved you, that held you as a child, could abuse you.
Tommy Scott grew up among gang violence, drugs, and poverty in the projects of South Central Los Angeles.
I felt not normal, not good. I wasn't lovable.
As a teen, Melissa discovered that drinking gave some relief.
Tommy is free today and continues to tell people that it was Jesus who changed his life.
The time I spent in prison, I spent putting my ideas together on, how I was going to come back and make it all right.
And I realized my purpose, that I was created to reflect the glory of God.
Duke now realizes why God kept him alive.
These were real people facing desperate situations, just like you and me.
Jesus died to set you free, and he can give you a new heart.
Aro, give me 5 stress, 3 gonorrhea.
Kale muli wano, you think you've brought capacas? Omwana yena sobola gamba super deep. Si myaka jaffe.
I'm like, I like my swag too. So what about it? Then she was like, I also like your accent. That village accent. Now.
Okay, why didn't sign for when you got political Tayaka no Mozanga Nakajawa?
Katina Kambuza, why are you crying?
I think I'm Big Mitch, Larry Hoover. Put that in Kiprotich's accent.
I think I'm Big Mitch, Larry Hoover.
A very good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Kampala Serena Hotel. This time we have escaped the sun and it's quite fresh here.
Yeah.
Really fresh. Good morning, Isma.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very good. Was that lie about vitamin D really true? When we were kids and we had to stand out in the sun. I don't know how many people at my age do stand out to get a bit of the sun and gain vitamin D.
No, well, I met a, well, of course, he was a Muzungu. Got out of his hotel, went out, and just stood in the sun.
No, he doesn't see much. He comes from Iceland, so it's nothing to do with that's something to do with the winter, not with the vitamin D.
And of course, the weather is definitely acting up. Using my HTC phone.
But Brian, do you really have to emphasize that?
I really have to say that. Yeah, you can catch accurate weather updates. And today we're going to have some scattered clouds, 20 degrees in Kampala. And tomorrow we'll be at 19 and 20 for Thursday. So, Isma, talking sport, in athletics, UAF names 30-man team for Africa's cross-country championship later this month in Kampala. Who do you think is in and who should we expect to deliver medals for us?
I think when I first got the team, when the team first came through, I look at the names, and they are all the names that are expected to be there, because this doesn't come as a bit of a favor to these athletes, because there's been a lot of preparation. There's been the half marathon, there's been the national cross country, and these athletes were selected and taken to Boko for almost a month for their training before they were brought back here. And then they start preparing. Actually, the event is going to be in Kololo on March 16th. Probably the most recognizable name, the moment you get your eyes on the list, is Moses Kipsiro.
Yeah.
And not because for me, it's not only that he's a 2-time Commonwealth Games champion with the 10,000, 5,000 back in 2010. For me, it's because he won a silver in the World Cross Country Championship back in 2009 in Jordan. Now, for me, that is the kind of experience he comes with. Probably Jordan was much harder for him. I remember the last 2 times he's been, when he's gone to the World Cross Country Championships in Poland on 2 occasions. The winter has been very, very tough on him. And I look at the first thing I'm impressed about that, since this event is here, there won't be many problems about the weather. Kipsiro doesn't have to deal with all the wintry conditions he's been facing. But while he's at it trying to win, he's had guys who have been beating him here, especially in the half marathon. Moses Kibe, Daniel Rotich, all of them in this team. I think between them, if they put up some quite of a team up front, we don't normally have so many athletes when you go for this competition, especially when you're running outside Uganda. The team could have 2 or 3. Now, here is an opportunity where we not look at Kipsiro and someone else. It's Kipsiro and 7 others. So if they gang up together, probably, I'm very, very optimistic about how many medals they could get. They could get here. Among them, I would be almost praying and craving that Kipsiro gets a gold from this to become an African champion. And especially, I think, for the women, it's got to be between Doreen Chesang and then Rebecca Cheptegei and Nancy Cheptegei. The two of them have been around for some time. Chesang has done well in the smaller events, the marathon. She did well in the cross-country championships. So she should be another one of those. And then one event where the cross-country team has always done well is the juniors. A few years ago, the women went and won a bronze, and the men finished 4th. That was in Poland, the World Cross Country Championships. And on the previous two occasions, when this African event has been held in South Africa, they haven't done as well. But the junior men and the junior girls have always done well at this kind of event. So I'm really optimistic about the individual medals and then the team medals, because if you collect points together, then everyone who finishes in a particular position, there's also a team medal for the entire team. So there should be a lot of medals come March 16.
Yeah, and I like to think that Kiprotich win somehow just inspired a whole lot of people.
Where is Kiprotich in all this? Isn't he?
Isn't a cross-country athlete. He's not yet running on in this kind of grass.
And marathon.
Marathon, it's a big difference. But when we get back here next month, Kiprotich will be running one of his biggest events, come April. That is in the London Marathon. I'll tell you about the figures is going to be paid just to make an appearance. But it's going to be his toughest event to win.
Just to make an appearance.
But then it's going to be the toughest for him to win because there is Mo Farah. He took the long distance double in the World Athletics Championships. There's Wilson Kipsang, the world record holder in the marathon. When he goes to London next month, that will be probably as big an event for Kiprotich as Moscow, and then the other one, the World Athletics, then the Olympics in London.
Wow.
Well, Duncan Mubiru, on Sunday he triumphed in Mbar, the first of 7. So what does that actually mean? Will he continue ahead? It puts him in a great position, I imagine.
I hope so, because he hasn't been around the whole of last year because he spent most of the year fighting with the Federation of Motorsport Clubs of Uganda. The man who everyone calls Chika Nkane, when I saw Simon doing the press review and he saw Chika Nkane, and then Joel was thinking, okay, Chika Nkane made so many other things because of GNL Zamba's song that was quite a hit some time back. Then Mubiru just picked up on it, and it's something that has created a rapport between him and rally fans. I have a feeling that he's going to be very competitive this year. Of course, this will not count if after this he goes into the next 6 races and could barely finish in the top 3. Now, it's better for me in any sport to set the pace and be the one who is chased and not be the chase. An advantage over all the others. Just Mangatu didn't drive in Mbarara. Ponsano Katako is get to sort out his car, and then Onatsebu Guzo came second. That means he has a head start. Whether he can convert that head start into his first National Rally Championship title, that would be totally different matter. But for now, he should be feeling very, very confident about his chances. And this is a driver for me that is extremely daring. I think in a year, he can go on and win at least 3 races of the 7. Now, for me, it will depend on what he does in the other 4 that he doesn't win. Does he finish the event? There are moments when I know how Mubiru is. He thinks he either wins or he doesn't finish the event. So probably those things will come into play for me. He's got to go win those 3 events that I think he will, and then after winning those 3, he's got to finish in the points bracket for all the other 4 events. And after that, for me, he has the quality to be national champion this year.
Right. Well, let's hope Chika Nkane will indeed Kukankana come the rally. But also, moving on to football, cranes assembling in Zambia amid many changes. Who's in, who's out?
Probably it's been one of the toughest things finding out which kind of cranes team will line up when they're in Zambia tomorrow. Because from the original 25, the team that was called, there's been numerous changes. One, we talked about the KCC players that FUFA eventually excused from this game. Tonio Do, Brian Majega, and Ivan Intege. Those back home here are preparing for that KCC game that is on Saturday at Nambole. And then there are players, because of the poor flight connections in Africa, there are so many players who can't make it for this friendly. I know, for example, Tony Maweji, he's just moved from IBV to Haugesund in Norway. And he was actually telling me he's actually trying to secure his work permit. Before Fakoli didn't even consult him. So he says, you know, guys, let me first work on this work permit, then I'll be able to play for you.
I wouldn't come to. I'm trying to.
And I remember people being very critical of Ibrahim Sekaji at some point. You remember he missed a game against Lesotho. A few years ago, I think back in 2008, at the time he was trying to work out his transfer. from Arsenal Sarandi to Red Bull Salzburg. And Ugandans were very critical, and I didn't understand what they didn't understand about
the man trying to get
trying to secure his future before playing for Uganda.
When I look at Sekaja now, I'm like, he's really living the dream.
Exactly.
Really.
So besides, Tony Maije is also chasing his dream, and he's someone I know from way back.
We all have dreams.
He's one of those who is missing in this team. Henry Kalonji too couldn't get his flight connections because he's having to fly in from the USA where he plays his professional football. And then, besides Henry Kalonji, there are several of them, besides the cases of players. Alex Kakuba and William Chizito, or William Chizito Luwaga, women who know Chizito Luwaga from Portugal, can't feature in this match. So it's good for Olusimbi. This one probably Mitchell got it wrong when he first summoned him. He said he realized he can't play in the next game because he's actually suspended. He's actually suspended for the game.
It goes on to international friendlies too.
No, in the friendly, the red card doesn't count. But because he's trying him out in a friendly and he won't need him in the next match, it's a wastage of space.
Yes.
So he leaves Walusimbi out. Joseph Ochaya couldn't make the game also. And then Geoffrey Massa is out injured for his team in University of Pretoria Attack. So Brian Omondi comes into his place. So there's a lot of changes. From the initial team, what Uganda would look like there is totally a different picture. And I'm thinking how many people are even going to keep tabs with who exactly is in. For example, for Tony Maweje, they decided to call Boban Zirintuza because he plays in Zimbabwe. It's easy for him to connect to Zambia. And then you see for Geoffrey Massa, Brian Omondi comes in. I feel sorry for all the African teams because in a continent where flight connections are not easy, how many teams are going to get the right players they want for these friendlies? Because if it was in Europe, I remember I do have a friend who lives in the UK and he supports Real Madrid. But you know, it's very easy for him to even fly and watch Real Madrid play at the Santiago Bernabeu and fly back to London.
Yes.
Using EasyJet. I think it's one of the cheapest carriers in Europe.
You can even, the flight maximum, you can even take it at £50.
Yeah, £50, yeah, and cross.
The train works.
Train to go to France.
Now Africa doesn't have something like that. African teams are in real trouble. It's getting all their players for this
idea, we start a low-budget airline for Africa.
Where?
Yeah, because I've thought about it. Do you know how expensive it is to fly from here to Dar es Salaam? So expensive, and yet it's quite near. But anyway, let's not digress.
We'll ask the...
Something we can talk about. On Monday, we talk about the potential of having a low-budget airline in Africa.
Mabel, 200 years ago, Africans walked from here to Dar es Salaam. So.
But it's so cheap. You take the Eurostar in Europe. Anyway, going on to Europe, Alan Pardew, we saw the headbutt. Personally, I think he was provoked. And these headbutts are becoming very common. Zinedine Zidane started it all. But
okay,
Alan
that
Pardew,
wasn't a headbutt, Zidane.
That was different.
That was violence.
That was...
Okay. Alan Pardew, do you think he's going to be punished? And don't you think he was provoked, you people?
First of all, Nebo, I find it very dumb that a manager of a statue of Alan Pardew goes out of his way to do something like that.
If I poke you, won't you poke me back?
I'm a manager.
I've done nothing to you.
I think...
You know, every job comes with responsibility. One of the best things I've learned in life is that with privilege comes responsibility. Probably many people who watch this show think it's a privilege for Brian to be here. But Brian, you're responsible towards so many things you say, like all of us are sitting in front of the camera. Now, when you've signed on to be a manager at the top level like Alan Pardew, there are things you should be able to control. Now, for me, in the moment when he headbutts David Myler, he lost himself. He lost himself. And I find it extremely dumb that even, maybe now you're even defending it.
I'm defending him because he was just standing there and then this guy comes up to him.
Yeah, trying to pick the ball and pushed him away.
Yes!
But the response cannot be, okay, for me, the dumb thing about it is that for Pardew, Newcastle were playing so well. They were winning the game. So he had nothing to lose in that kind of sense. He could actually talk to David Myler and tell him to go back. He's going to be banned big time. That one I promise you. His club has already fined him £100,000.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah,
it's a week's salary.
Who cares? It's £100,000.
£100,000. It's still a lot of money to anyone.
It's a lot of money.
Even for the fans who walk into the stadium and pay every, it's a lot of money. £100,000 already the fine. The FA are going to institute a disciplinary hearing by end of the week. Alan Pardew has already been charged. I think he's going to be banned for no less than 10 games because there is a lot of outcry towards him and somehow he's not going to get public sympathy. In the public court of opinion, Alan Pardew is as guilty as probably O.J. Simpson. And O.J. Simpson, of course, came up innocent.
Yes.
Now, Alan Pardew headbutting it, for me, it sounded like he's killed someone. He didn't kill someone in this sense, but for me, he forgot his responsibilities as a manager.
Maybe
and
that.
when he's
Maybe
banned for
that.
10
10
games,
games
and
is
the kind of image is created for Newcastle, I think he's going to lose his job. I fear for his job right now. He's done so well at Newcastle this season, with having lost Johan Kabay in January. They're just winning
But players
again.
do worse things on the pitch.
Yeah.
They don't get banned for 10 games.
But when Luis Suarez did bite someone, he was banned for 10 games, and they kind of
Imagine
and then
headbutt and biting.
yeah. But then also the other thing I think the FA will consider is that Alan Pardew has a history. He has a history. I've seen him trying to fight Arsene Wenger. Who fights Wenger? The guy is the best gentleman in football.
Yes.
He barely argues or talks about anyone except his team. Alan Pardew tried to fight him. He has a history of incidents. It's a package. You could actually shoot a movie and have the Oscars redone today about Alan Pardew. And
this was the last nail in the coffin.
I think this is the last nail for him in the coffin. I think he could give Lupita Nyong'o a run for his money because he has a lot of incidents like this. He has a lot of them.
Right.
And he's not been a supporting actor. He's been a lead actor,
The lead actor
in most of them.
Okay.
Well, Ismail, just for your information, sunshine is important for conversion of some compounds in the body into vitamin D, which is good for your bones and teeth. It's not a lie, just Google it and consult doctors. Ismail, a quick comment on Arsenal securing Suarez. We offered 40 million pounds and 40 million and £1, and this is after the Liverpool owner revealed. Why did Liverpool not sell? I mean,
first of all, Liverpool remind me of what every team should do. Is that don't sell your best players. You see the difference that Suarez has made to their team. 24 goals in 27.
Buys the best players from their
From
rivals.
Dortmund,
Yes.
Which is for me wrong. The Bayern being able to do it does not vindicate it as a right
Isn't that the competition? Isn't that the market? You buy the best players from your enemy.
For Liverpool, they don't see Arsenal as a much better team than they are. Now Dortmund see Bayern as a team better than what they can offer. Liverpool don't see actually, like Steven Gerrard said at the time when Arsenal were trying to buy Suarez. He said, for me, moving from Liverpool to Arsenal is not an upgrade. It's not a step up in your career. That's how Liverpool feel about it. And for me, it was important that Liverpool don't sell their best players. But two, I'm so surprised and actually dumbfounded that English clubs are going to Spanish. How do you have a buyout clause in a player's contract? How do you even think about it? Players are not supposed to have buyout clauses. You're owned by the club. You're an asset. Go and play until your contract. There is no need of having a buyout clause. For me, it's totally stupid. Messi has one that is 250 million euros to leave Barcelona. Ronaldo has probably a bigger one at Real Madrid. You don't have buyout clauses in your contract because some madman will walk out of a casino in Hollywood or in LA, a madman will walk into Man City and pay that money. What do you do about it? Just don't have a buyout clause for me.
Right. That also applies to coaches, right?
Yes.
Right. I think the latest I had was he was at Chelsea. What's his name?
Carlo Ancelotti?
Ancelotti.
Yeah.
And he had a buyout clause.
Even when he was at PSG. Real Madrid had to buy him from PSG.
Wow. I'm telling Arab money is taking over football and it's spoiling it for some of us who have failed to buy players. Arsenal is special though. 24 goals in 27 games. This guy is definitely a striker you need to have on your team. Catch the latest in sport with Isma and Lumansi and Alan at 1:30 p.m. live from the NTV studios. And of course, Sports Bar coming to you live from Club Silk every Monday, 10:30 p.m. Before we head out, your African proverb. You are beautiful because of your possessions.
What is possession?
That's exactly what I was thinking. What type of possessions?
Mabel, you tell us.
No, I think maybe what you have as a person. You know, you're beautiful because you have all the knowledge you have on sport.
Yeah.
Something like that. But I don't think it can mean physical possession. Really?
It's got to be physical.
It has to be
physical. It's got to be the thing.
It has to be.
I think this
you're beautiful because of those physical possessions?
And, you know.
Exactly. You know what is
that.
beautiful in
Okay.
Africa? A bat and those things. So probably the physical possessions are I'm thinking from totally an African.
For those who are well endowed.
Yeah, because it can't be driving a Range Rover Sport. That doesn't make you beautiful. It has to be something else.
But also sometimes you can look beautiful in the Range Rover. So really, I'm telling you, those of us who drive Ipsams, we know that you can look more beautiful in a Range Rover. A couple of your comments. Next sports should be done at the swimming pool and maybe in a swimsuit.
Not the latter.
Friday sport, you'll be in a swimsuit.
Yeah.
Yeah? Deal, eh?
I'll sit closer. There's too much space right here.
We'll do it in the pool. Okay, is Doka Sinzikuru coming back into athletics? We'll answer that tomorrow. And of course, is our Team Uganda Cranes playing tomorrow or not? Are we playing tomorrow?
Yes, we are.
All right.
Match 5th in Zambia.
We're playing tomorrow. It's not going to be live, right?
Yeah, not on TV.
Okay, so it's going to be on TV. But we'll update you with the results of that game and in our subsequent sports updates on this show. It's been awesome. It's been an honor. I hope you have gotten some tips for that job interview before you head over. Yes, you can rewatch the episode Larry Home from PPG. Head over to ppg.co.ug and let us know about this show. So like our page, 8,439 people on our Facebook page. Keep liking it. Keep following us on Twitter. For the rest of us, hasta la vista, baby.
She was molested when she was 6 by someone she trusted.
The doctors finally walked into the door. They basically were telling me that she had a 5% chance of living.
I couldn't understand how somebody that tells you they loved you, that held you as a child, could abuse you.
Tommy Scott grew up among gang violence, drugs, and poverty in the projects of South Central Los Angeles.
I felt not normal, not good. I wasn't lovable.
As a teen, Melissa discovered that drinking gave some relief.
Tommy is free today and continues to tell people that it was Jesus who changed his life.
The time I spent in prison, I spent putting my ideas together on, how I was going to come back and make it all right.
And I realized my purpose, that I was created to reflect the glory of God.
Duke now realizes why God kept him alive.
These were real people facing desperate situations, just like you and me.
You know, Jesus died to set you free, and he can give you a new heart.
Aro, give me 5 stress, 3 gonorrhea.
Kale muli wano, you think you've brought car passers? Omwana yena sobola gamba super deep. Si myaka jaffe.
I'm like, I like my swag too. So what about it? Then she was like, I also like your accent. That village accent. Now.
Okay, why didn't say when you got political tayakana no muzanga nakajawa.
Kati nekambuuza mukabete why are you crying? Nekagamba abasajja engeri gye bafulumiza mu lukwago. I think I'm Big Mitch. Larry Hoover. Put that in Kiprotich's accent.
I think I'm Big Mitch. Larry Hoover.
On the next